Hello. Oh, I hope that it was I hope all of that intro was not silent. But if it was, unfortunate. Um the warning displayed on the screen, so hopefully that's okay. Let me make sure that let me balance this audio a little bit cuz um I'm gonna lower it a little bit for me. And then I'm going to raise it for you guys so you can hear properly. Hopefully that doesn't overpower my voice. And we're gonna go back to the beginning because there's a key to go back to the beginning. I don't remember what the key to go to the back to the beginning is, but I'm gonna read this again. I think back to it. Could I find? If I think back to it, could I find some alternative where it might have ended a different way? It's hard to remember. Overpowering are the memories of metal against skin, the somber hiss of soldering, the slight sadistic glint in an opaque plastic eye, the haze of smoke and fervent emotion, a scent and taste I wouldn't wash out for the world. I suppose I had to start with the first time I saw her, back on that first day, with that first delivery. Perhaps there was no changing any of it to begin with, and my fate was sealed the moment she came to rest at my door. Sparks flew beneath my fingertips as the sharp shriek of metal on metal rang throughout the workshop. I hunched over my desk, my hands trembled from the vibrations as I brought a small saw to bear against the corroded surface of a thin, unremarkable length of metal. Tiny flecks of rust and grime scattered across my desk, cut free from the scrap by the saw's microscopic teeth. Sweat plastered against my Sweat plastered my hair against my brow, and within the confines of the visor that shielded my eyes, all the humidity mixed with all the grime and left me caked in a slick, black substance that would take ages to wash out. My back ached. Oh, they move with the mouse. That's cool. This art is so beautiful, by the way. Grim did such a good job. The, I'm so I love women, bruh. My back ached. I labored tirelessly into the night, far past my usual waking hours, but the artificial drone of my overhead lights kept me as alert as necessary to make progress on my one and only hobby project. I had a particular fascination with salvage. This project was only one manifestation of that interest. Another pass at the bar of scrap with the saw, and another micrometer of ancient residue flaked away. There was there were more than a few junkyards near my workshop. More shipment came from around the city each day, and when given the chance, I hunted the oversized float of filth. Ooh, I got lost. And when given the chance, I hunted the oversized floats of filth just for a chance of finding something valuable. The monotonous and grueling work of grinding rust away gave me time to think. I saw memories in the sparks that danced against the plastic sheet of my visor. I spent much of the time searching waist deep in refuse, linking back tears from the sulphurous rotting odor. More of it than you could imagine was plastic or organic, and none of it suited my purpose. It was much rarer than it should have been to find real workable metal. I brought the saw down again. Whenever I bit into the delicate metal, I used every bit of myself to self-control to ensure I tore off no more than was necessary to reveal the uncorrupted interior. The piece on my table now hadn't even seemed usable at first. I found it stranded within a pile of construction materials for some cancelled project deep within the urban interior. It was useless, discarded, and designed to be forgotten. Something about its rusted exterior called to me in a way that courier ordered parts could not. I saw it. I saw in it a project, something to complete, a butterfly waiting to come free from its festering cocoon. And yet, as was so often the case in projects like that, my work bore very little fruit. Even with the most delicate touch, I couldn't manage to shave off enough of the accumulated rot to reveal any semblance of workable interior. No matter where I cut into the scrap, I could not reveal the signature shine of steel I longed to witness. Oh, I figured out how to go back. The rod, the original purpose of which I could only speculate, though I imagine it would have once soundly enhanced the structural integrity of some larger and cheaper construction material, was corroded through and through. There was no amount of dedicated work that could fix it. I knew that, and yet this feels like foreshadowing to something, you know? You're so pretty, bro. I shifted on my stool as a sharp pain no larger than a needle shot through a crick in my back. My face contorted into a grimace as I flexed my spine and drew out a series of distinct cracks, no doubt caused by my poor posture. I took the opportunity to reassess my work. That reminded me to sit up. Countless specks of dirt lay scattered across the surface of my workbench. The scrap was at an unrecognizable fraction of its former size, rendered useless. The scrap was at an unrecognizable fraction of its former size, rendered useless for its former purpose. Even as carefully as I could manage, I couldn't properly walk the line between carving away what it did not need and cherishing what could be salvaged. Even then, I couldn't bear to let it go. Something about a work in progress, an abandoned project, or a discarded piece, all of it bothered me to no end. Repairing salvage was my only hobby outside of my work, and the opportunity cost of declaring something unusable always seemed far too high to pay. I braced what little remained of the scrap with two fingers as I traded saw for a thin sheet of sandpaper. With practice and mechanical dexterity, I scraped off more excess rust just for the chance something valuable might glimmer underneath. Oh my god, that scared me. As I readied myself to scrape down the metal against a sharp alarm. Oh, as I readied myself to scrape down the metal again, a sharp alarm rang through my workshop and shocked me free of my focus. I gripped on the metal slip in my alarm, and the sandpaper's coarse edge sliced a thin layer of skin off my fingertip. Ow! Perhaps the signs were always there after all. I cursed my breath as the thin trickle of blood wormed its way down my finger. The ambient warm lights of my workshop were overtaken by the incandescent blue of a projection from the garage door. Unnamed drone. Citizen Yayin Koe, a package has arrived for you. A digitized voice spoke through the hologram, an artifacted picture of what lay beyond the door. A courier drone hovered in the air over a large person-sized crate, its rotors buzzing so loud they were audible through the wall. Please sign for confirmation of delivery. I needed to help my sister at something. Um, I glanced down at my damaged finger to try and sense the injury's urgency. The cut lay nestled in a field of calluses and old working scars, and but a few short seconds after I stupidly hurt myself, the bleeding slowed to a stop. I shrugged. I'd had worse, and the cost of leaving the courier waiting far outweighed the benefits. With an exaggerated effort, I hauled myself to my feet and paced over to the garage door. I kicked aside the manual lock that sealed it shut and crouched down to heft it open with one hand. The plastic barrier segmented into a series of rectangular panels and folded up into the ceiling, leaving me face to face with the courier. The moment I made eye contact with its singular beady crimson pupil, a bright flash consumed my vision and left spots dancing in my eyes. Hello? Flash warning? What the hell? Signature accepted. Please contact your nearest courier when you determine the shipment able to be returned. Thank you for your cooperation. Why did I struggle with this sentence so much? Thank you for your cooperation. With all the formality and of a freight train, the drone lingered on my visage for another moment before it soared into the air and began a staggered flight over the small shops lining my street. Demand for efficiency had become more and more of a priority as the desire for products grew along with it, and now we relied on the couriers. Products like the one in the crate, be- products like the one in the crate before me now. The box was only a few inches shorter than me, and the exterior was all sleek and polished plastic. It was thin and perfectly polygonal. The only ornamentation on its surface, other than the digital lock protecting its content, was the stenciled inscription of its product information and some hand carved writing beneath that. It read Venusian Robotics, AHRRA, Auto Ambulatory Housekeeping Relaxation Recovery Android, Model 3, Shipment and Recovery Container. What really caught my eye, however, was the writing. In small print, someone crudely etched a phrase into the plastic shell with something sharp. AHRRA. My darling. Now and always. Fortuna. Is it Aura? The text was choppy and disturbed the casing's sleek interior, yet each letter was rendered with a level of care and finesse that made the etching almost seem like cursive. The name Fortuna was underlined, and the authors carved a little star next to the final A. As I loaded the crate onto a hand truck and wheeled it deeper into my workshop, sealing the garage door shut behind me and cutting off the sweltering din of the city beyond, I ran those words over in my head more than a few times. In retrospect, I should have known at first glance that this order would turn out the way it did. It was common for my clients to grow unusually attached to their purchases, but my years of experience blinded me to the latent thread implied with each carefully gouged letter. I punched a 6-digit code into the keypad on the crate's central panel, and the entire face hissed with a slight burst of steam as it came apart down the middle. On some internal hinge, it reclined a few degrees to give its cargo the benefit of not collapsing under its own weight. Thin interlocking mechanisms came undone as the plastic fanned to reveal a plush velvet interior, lovingly cushioned and built to house a humanoid body in a slight recession, similar to how a chalk outline would trace a body on the ground. She's here. Ah, so pretty. We can see their organs, which makes me a little nervous. Um, but I'm sure everything will be fine. The crate was obviously occupied. An android stood stock still in its socket, eyes sealed shut in a power supply induced in coma. My eyes went wide as I took its figure in for the first time. I was a mechanic who specialized in the repair of androids. I had a knack for precision and delicacy, which came in handy when the microscopically fine wiring and motors of the most popular models came into inevitable hello inevitable inevitable disrepair. Fuck, dude. I know how to say that word. I promise. Even better, the clients who owned the androids hated to see them broken, and when you consider the price range of the average model sold at, the compensation for expedient and remarkable service were more than enough to live much better than I deserved. I'm sure you deserve everything you have. Years had passed since I opened my workshop, and in all the time, I had never seen a model damaged as badly as Fortuna's. Oh. Okay, so it's like very damaged, and that's why it looks like this. It's not like supposed to look like that. The gossamer fine layer of artificial skin coating its metallic interior had been all but rent asunder. The black carapace housing its most delicate systems had holes along its body, and entire panels where the equivalent of its stomach would have been were missing. Multicolored wires spilled out of its torso and pulled around its waist, dangling along its legs, snapped in some places and bent in others. They were tangled in a saturated mess that I couldn't make a sense of at a glance. Puncture wounds in its arms and legs showed significant damage to the joints, as well as snapped artificial tendons and an overall wear and tear all across its body. Wow, holy hell. They're not like those have to be intentional, right? Like they have to be damaging the android on purpose. That sucks. Even its hair had gone missing in a few places. Small breaks in the mesh of its scalp revealing that strands had been torn free by force. Jeez. Like listen, okay? I know it's not a person, but the ability to harm something that looks this human, like, it's just like indicative of like an issue lying underneath. I feel like most people when they see something that resembles a human, like can't bring themselves to hurt it because it's like too person like, you know. uh if you are the kind of person who like humanizes like inanimate objects, you like apologize. Like if you're like me, like apologize when you bump into the wall, right? I can't imagine taking an android that looks like a person and like purposely hurting it. Like that would, I don't know. Its throat had a deep gouge that spanned its entire width, though it was unnecessary. Luxury androids like this one had a tendency to recreate the form. Oh my god. I got lost. Though it was unnecessary, luxury androids like this one had a tendency to recreate the human anatomy much more accurately than would be efficient for their function. Harm to one. Oh wow. Harm to one would function similar to a human given the location of its injuries. Wow. Okay, yeah. That's what I was saying. I was like, that feels. I knew at a glance it would not be able to move or speak where were I to power it on. The extent of its disrepair proved both frightening on behalf of the client I received it from. I knew at a glance that I would not be able to it would not be able to move or speak were I to power it on. The extent of its disrepair proved both frightening on behalf of the client I received it from and exciting as a challenge posed only to myself. I wonder why. Sorry, my mom walked in to grab my little sister and she like left the door. I had to go close it. I wonder why it's so like damaged. Like I wonder if this client, you know. Okay, I'm assuming we'll find out, but I want to know. Fortuna, the client who had contacted me with the order and gave me the code for the crate, had emphasized through our chat that her model was in remarkably poor condition. I knew this, and yet even my tempered expectation had failed to predict the true extent of the problem. Oh look, they both moved. It stood in stark contrast to the lovingly etched phrase on the crate side. Yeah, I was gonna say, like the note on the side, you would think this is like the most loved android to ever exist, and like yet it's in this like condition. Where in that memo, I only saw love and endearment. The damage to the android's body was severe enough to constitute recommendation for a full replacement. Not that I would give one, for Tina paid more handsomely than any previous client of mine, so much so that I assumed at first she had sent the wrong amount. I considered it an exceptional sign of goodwill after the initial contact, but there was clearly more motivating it than just the kindness of her heart. To free it from its container, I undid a few clasps around the android's shoulders and knees. It's. Hi, Lottie! Nice to see you. We're playing another game that my friends made. This one is for the Toxic Yuri Game Jam, if that tells you anything. Um, we're here and we are a mechanic who works with androids in a post-apocalyptic setting. And this is the android that we just received to repair. Oh, the art in this game is really good. Dude, my friend Grim is like peak artist, dude. His art is beautiful. Um, yeah. And I love his character design. This is like I'm so excited to see where this goes. We just received this android, so we don't know our name yet, but we just got told it's in like really bad condition. Like this is not what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to have like artificial skin on it. Like it's not supposed to have wounds like this open. There's patches of its hair missing. So it's like super damaged, and we're kind of confused because on the box that we received it in, there was like a note on the outside, and it was like, "You're the most like cherished thing I own," or something like that. So like, there's something weird happening already, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. To free it from its container, I undid a few clasps around the android's shoulders and knees. Its limb went slack in their cushioned recess, and a few blanched sections of its hide underneath the straps indicated they had seen a lot of use. I really love the android design. I know, dude. It's so good. I'm so excited. I love Yuri. And I unfortunately love doomed toxic Yuri in my heart. Even though I love to see Sapphics win, and that's why I tend to write like undoomed Yuri. I love me a good doomed Yuri story, and I know this is gonna be excellent. I'm so geeked. With two hands bracing its chest, I hefted it up over my shoulder and stepped over to an intricate matrix of steel beams with something much like a barber's chair at its center. It always surprised me how much lighter these things were than they seemed. Showing enough care to ensure it wouldn't get damaged, I laid it down in the chair. It slumped against the seat as its upper body went slack with nothing to support it, and the pale emerald strands of its hair obscured its lifeless eyes. Oh, dude. It proved difficult to imagine the thing before me as capable of thought or function. So terrible was the damage to the exterior that I struggled even more than usual to visualize would motivate someone to what would motivate someone to buy one at all. Okay, so I suppose our main character is kind of like I don't really see the appeal of androids, and they're like, seeing it like this, I can't even imagine. Like it's worse than usual. My lack of understanding. Um, Dude, this poor thing is so damaged. Like these like dots here on its shoulder and stuff are like supposed to be puncture wounds, I believe. And then like it's like all scratched up. The fact that it's like missing hair in the back. Oh, a smart surface reminded me more of the salvage I was fond of collecting than a luxury item for the most privileged customer the city could offer. Interesting. With all the artifice stripped away, it seemed nothing more than a fragile imitation of life. Nothing more at all. You know what this is reminding me of? Like the android that's like super in disrepair. I don't know if you guys have watched the pilot episode of Knights of Guinevere. Like the pilot episode where you see Guinevere for the first time and she's just like not, like she's like broken, and there's like wires coming out of her, and she's missing eye, and she's like, and there's like some foreshadowing about Guinevere's character in that, like, this is kind of a spoiler, but like she reacts to being awake in a very negative way. This is what this is reminding me of. I wonder if this android's gonna freak out when it wakes up. I put it I pulled at its arms and legs to fasten them into cuffs attached to the broad metal lattice surrounding the chair. The internal friction of some broken joints on its elbow grinding against one another with a scrape that resonated up its arms made me hesitate. Ooh, wow. I tightened fine screws that fastened the restraints around its wrists and ankles, and by large handles spread around the odd spider-like structure, I could manipulate its limbs as necessary to position them where I needed them for easy access. A vice designed for holding an android in a three-dimensional space. Oh, I see. So it's like a cage around it so you can like hold it up. I see. I designed it a few years ago myself. I designed it myself a few years ago. Though I hadn't made another, the time it saved me made it more than worth the effort it had taken to get the features right. I splayed the android's limbs as wide as I could without fear of damaging them further. Its elbows could only unbend halfway before they got caught in some broken mechanism I couldn't see at a first glance, giving it an oddly rigid posture, more like a robot from a cartoon. Mm. Also, we were told that like androids this high end are typically like given like very human like anatomy despite not really needed to function. So uh like the wires look like organs and stuff, and it had like a slit across its throat, and we were it was like our character was like, I'm confused as to why the owner seems to like it so much. They're spending so much money to get it repaired when they like are treating it like this, and I'm also very curious as to like how it got this damaged. More wires unspooled from the cavity in its chest as the tension forced them free. I grimaced as exposed copper and silicone dangled around its hips from the ends of sliced open cords. Wow. Okay. Satisfied, I eased myself back into my chair and brushed my hobby project to the side, dusting off the keyboard of an old analog computer. The screen flickered to life in a torrential pour of codes and lights. The retro aesthetic of hard data appealed to me more than the facsimile of luxury contained in projections. Okay, so like our character likes like the old school stuff. Interesting. This is like what we would handle. No point in wasting any more time. I flipped open the compartment on the side of my computer and pulled the thick cord free from its casing within. Our character being like earlier, our character was working on a project where they were like, I can't let this go. Like it's very clear that this project is beyond repair and I can't let this go. And now we're being told that our character likes like old school computers where like, most people aren't using them anymore because they have holograms. And so like this feels like foreshadowing to what's gonna happen because of what kind of person we're playing. Leaning across to the android, I connected the cable into a smart port hitting at the nape of its neck, usually covered by a small panel that this one lacked. Whether that was due to the model or damage, I couldn't be sure yet. My monitor flickered as a new torrent of data stormed in from the connection to the android. A small window containing the manufacturer's information, Venusian Robotics, listed some official details about the model. My eyes glazed over the text. It would be useful if I needed any replacement parts, but the official details had already been hammered out online with Fortuna. Fortuna is the owner of the model, by the way. I scrolled past the redundant registration to the diagnostic information for all of the software loaded onto the android's mind. Repairing these models came with more expectations than just the physical. If they suffered some mental anomalies not previously intended by their owners, then it was my job to hammer those out and get them back into the intended behavioral patterns. Okay, so the androids can have mental illness. Mental illness, bruv. Usually the mechanics and the programming were left to different people, but I made a living out of being good enough to do it both in one trip. The little focus face, dude, is so cute. I love them. I love their hair too. It's so charming to me. Giving very much like I just cut it to be good enough. I just need it out of my face. It's so cute. Nothing out of the ordinary caught my eye on that end. All of its listed behaviors were functioning within expected ranges, and no client submitted commands had been rejected or confused. I sifted through a mountain of procedural reports and sighed out my exhaustion through my teeth. Though it took me a few seconds to notice, something disturbed my workflow and forced my attention away from the road diagnostic. In a small blip of blue and green light, an unusual line of text forced its way into my command line. Oh! It opened its eyes! Okay, so it is Aura. I'm assuming. This stood for something. It was like what's the word? What's that word when you have like Whoa, I'm forgetting like the easiest word in the dictionary. When you have like letters that make out a title, like LOL is laugh out loud. Wait, what's the word for that? There's no way I'm forgetting this. Hello? Wait. Um, whoa. Acronym. Oh my god, I forgot the word acronym. Yes, thank you, Lottie. Dude, I can't believe I forgot the word acronym. That's so funny. Uh, I was just talking today about how I'm such a fucking nerd and I can't remember the word acronym. Oh, dude. And it was one of those things where, like, you know the word, and as soon as you have to say it, your brain's like, nope, this information is not yours to share. Like, okay. My bad, bro. I just wanted to say the word acronym in my sentence. RM3. Well, aren't you cute? Oh, he called us cute, bro. Oh, let's go. The format made it seem more like a chat message than a command given by a computer. I stole a glance at the Android on my side, and I love its eyes, bro. So beautiful. Its eyes were wide open, beady black retinas lodged in the obsidian carapace of its face, locked their gaze onto mine, and I reeled so hard I almost fell from my chair. Bro, you're holding a computer that's connected to its neck. Don't fall. You're gonna damage it again. The chip panels of its smile turned up in a amused smirk at my panicked reaction. My focus split between the computer and the android to ensure it didn't surprise me again as I searched the lock for more. RM3. You alright? I didn't mean to scare you like that. I swallowed my surprise. In my haste, I assumed it was fully depowered in preparation for the shipment, and yet it had used the connection to my computer to turn itself on. My eyes roved over the text for anything I might have missed before everything slid up as another entered the screen. Um, hello? You can read this, right? I can see the text on the screen from over here. My body responded quicker than my mind could process the derisive nature of its comments, and my hands reached for the keyboard. Another line burst onto the screen before I had the chance to press a single key. Hello. You don't need to type, you know. I can hear just fine, dude. Oh, my fault. I didn't realize I could even turn you on. I thought I included in the instructions that your owner should make sure your power was fully emptied before she shipped you off. Well, I guess she must have forgot. The moment you hooked me up, I was awake and ready to go. Is that going to be a problem? No, not really. I could have just hurt myself on all the exposed wiring. It's dangerous, but it's really not a problem. In reality, it was a significant enough mistake that I should have filed a complaint with the customer. It was only the inexplicable large sum of cash Fortuna had deposited in my account that kept my demeanor upbeat. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure she didn't mean anything by it. I don't mean to be causing you all this trouble. I just got here. And just after I got here, I must be your worst guest yet. Bro, you're not supposed to be on. I don't typically have to, like, entertain guests, you know? It was difficult to glean its tone just by looking at the screen, but a quick look on its body confirmed its face was turned into a playful pout, with its cheek puffed out a bit. With its cheek a bit puffed out, it fluttered its eyelashes when it caught me looking. Bro! Whoa, don't flutter your eyelashes at me. I'm too gay for that shit. Holy shit. You know, whenever I'm watching Lottie stream, I'm always like giggling at how fast she like starts getting like feeling like she's getting flirted by the love interest, and it took the robot fluttering its eyelashes for me to get flustered. That's hilarious. Okay, this one was odd. While I had serviced many unusual androids in the past, none had approached me so personally and playfully. I scrolled back up. I scrolled back up away from its conversation and double checked none of its behaviors were recently reported out of line. Nothing seemed to be an error. While I couldn't directly access all the information on its hardware because of how private it could be, I could tell it was following all previously given commands to the letter. I spent a few minutes just like that. Strings of raw data flew by under my gaze without drawing my attention as I sifted through months of information without much thought. Until. Oh my gosh! Oh, fuck me, dude. Holy shit. That scared me. Okay. Dude, Perry's so good at sound design. I'm always like freaking the fuck out. Okay. A harsh metallic shriek shocked me from my focus. I whipped around to the android to see where it had come from and watched it dig into a large chunk of casing in its shoulder with its. What? Wait, what? Wait, okay. What? I whipped around to the android to see where it came from and watched it dig into a large chunk of casing on its shoulder with its teeth. Perry, my bad. No, don't even worry about it, Perry. It's good. I love your games, bro. I love you guys' games. Wait, it's hurting itself? Okay. Hey, what the hell? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god. Okay, no, I mean, that's fine that it did that and made that noise. I'm not freaking out. That's cool. I, yeah, bro. I mean, that's fine. It lashed its neck to the side with what little mobility it had to tear the strand of metal free with a horrible crunch. It came off in one long strip like a skin tag would on my. Oh! Dude, no. What is this description, bro? Can't do this. Why would Kirby write that, bro? I'm so. Okay. I shut up from my chair and reached. I really like this like movement thing, by the way. It's really cute. Okay. I shut up from my chair and reached out to try and restrain it before it kept hurting itself. But before it could get close, it pivoted its neck and spat at the scrape of its body towards me. I raised my hand in reflex and batted it to the side and batted it aside before it could hit me in the face. Oh Jesus. Oh, I think I found that sound, by the way. I helped with the sound finding in this game. Um, so that's cool. I got to participate a little bit. The torn shard clattered against the cool concrete of my workshop floor. My hand stung where it had scratched against my bare palm. The spike of adrenaline forced a nervous energy to the forefront of my thoughts as I sputtered for words. What? What the fuck was that? No, genuinely, what the fuck was that? Like, what do you? Why are you doing that? Stop. The android's calculating eyes reflected the overhead light and made its glint of man-made intelligence seem even more alien than I had already thought. It craned its head towards my desk and nodded towards it all its might. With all the might its paralyzed body could muster, which ultimately amounted to very little. Look at the credit and settings. Credits? Ah, look, I'm in here! That's so cool! Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh yeah. All of these links right here, that send you to my friends' like art pages and stuff are in the description of the stream and in the description and in the post, the announcement post I made on Blue Sky. Grimm's Blue Sky is also tagged on Blue Sky just because I don't have the other twos. But all of their description stuff's in my description. So you guys wanna if you guys wanna go check them out. Um I know Perry has multiple games out. I played 3 of them including this one. And then this is both of their second project, I believe. Um Kirby does the writing and it's so fucking good, dude. Oh my god. Anyway. Wow, thank you for including me. That's so fun. I didn't think I would actually make it in the credits. Okay. The android's calculating eyes reflected the overhead light and made its glint of man made intelligence seem even more alien than I had already thought. It craned its head towards my desk and nodded towards it with all the might its paralyzed body could muster. which ultimately amounted to very little. At first, I thought it might have been suffering from some more significant mechanical failure, but the obvious intent of its action made me glance at my computer to ensure that I hadn't missed anything. Is it mad because I wasn't reading what it was saying? Did it just harm itself to make sure that I would read what it's saying to me? I hope that's not what it is. 'Cause I need to get you some professional psychiatric help, man. I Never mind your body being broken, you need a therapist. Multiple lines of text scrolled past the screen as more filled in from the bottom. I stepped back over to my chair and leaned down to get a better look. Stop ignoring me. You're just sitting there reading nothing. If you wanted to know if I was doing okay, why didn't you just ask? You're being rude. Is that all this is all that stuff in my brain so much more interesting than me? Bro, um, we're getting a little personal. You have an owner who loves you very much, who's not me, who's not here. Um, are we gonna do NTR? Like, what's happening? Dude, why is this bot why is this bot reading us like this? What the hell? Girls will literally have an absolute 10 in their weird fetish chair and scroll diagnostic logs instead of actually talking. I'm crying. What? Oh, it had already threatened us. We just ignored it and then it actually went through with the threat. I mean, good on boundary following, I guess. Please check your computer. I'm going to throw something at you by any means necessary. I'll use my teeth if I have to. You forced my hand. Alright, bro. I wiped my hand down my face as I read more and more. My fingertips dug into my cheeks as adrenaline cooled, and the faint string of the cut along my palm allowed me to focus. Alright, so clearly, these are all wrong. There's no way your owner will let you act like this, and I mean, Jesus Christ. Alright, why are you evil now? What happened? Oh my god, bro. I'm scared. The exasperation bled through my tone as I rubbed the back of my neck with both hands. Maybe if you fixed my voice, we could talk about it, and you could find out. As it is, you just have to trust that silly computer of yours, even though it's older than dirt. Aren't you curious about me? I mentally staggered. My chest throbbed as an odd sensation spread from my heart to my fingertips. When I looked at the android in the chair, I didn't see anything but that a machine designed to imitate human life for the dismissal satisfaction of those wealthy enough to afford the commodity. And yet, as it stared at me with its obsidian pupils, a faintly inquisitive grin on its face. Okay, first of all, don't talk to me like that. I'm like your doctor, not your friend. I don't know what kind of weird shit your owner told you to do to me, but I'm not having it, okay? I'm not. The android cocked its head as much as it was able and nodded in assent. I took a few deep breaths to steady myself. I was used to the occasional errant behavior, but the more dangerous models usually reach the scrapyard before my door. I didn't trust it. Though I knew exactly how their minds worked on a basic level, it was impossible to know how malleable intelligence had been molded by its service thus far. Even then, as it met my eyes, I almost sensed some form of pleading intent in its gaze. Maybe the biggest mistake I made was my trust in that illogical, emotion-driven sense. The trust that on some level my instincts were true, and I was prepared for anything it could do. I'll fix your voice, just promise not to bite my fingers off or I'll weld your mouth shut. The monitor at my side flashed, and I reached over, grabbing some tools, and then sliding them closer to the matrix containing the android. I promise. I pulled my stool closer to the android with a hard scrape of metal against concrete. It shifted uncomfortably. I actually think I also pulled that sound. Sorry, I'm getting curious. I'm listening to the sounds in the back to see if to see which ones I picked were helpful. It shifted uncomfortably in its restraints. As I grew closer to the injury and got a better look at it, a few key details stood out in my mind. Rather than a gouge with something sharp, like I had initially assumed, it seemed more apt that the entire span of its neck had been crushed inward. The metal along the seam was discolored and bent. Fragments of its facsimile skin lay buried in Jesus! Oh my god! What the hell? God is above. What did this lady do to this poor thing? Jesus Christ. Okay. As I brought pliers to its injury to try and pry some of the or obstructing debris aside, it flinched. My eyebrows shot up in instinct as I hesitated and searched the expression for a sign of a defect. Can it feel pain? Or was it just like taught to like react like it feels pain? That's interesting. It drew its brow together as its lips quirked down in a slight frown. Though it had been stripped of its ability to mimic humanity by all the damage to the accessories which made it possible for me to consider empathizing with it, I couldn't help but read a measure of concern in its expression. Jeez. What? Is there something else I should look at? The android shook its head. Given the distance between my workspace and the computer, I didn't feel like crossing the room every few seconds to read its message, so I had no choice but to rely on my interpretation of its body language. Alright, then I need you to calm down. The faster we get this over with, the faster we can get you home and out of my house. Bro, I know it's a Bob, but damn, be nice. A few seconds passed as I glanced to the side, as if in thought. I knew it processed information fast enough that the gesture could only be performative. The android chewed on its lower lip as if it mulled something over, then gave a slow and calculated nod. I convinced myself that I could tease something in its eyes that wasn't there. As I reached up to its neck, it shied away from my grip, yet there was nowhere for it to go, restrained as it was. It squinted its eyes shut as my hand settled against its throat. Human body language was Wait, what? Human body language was most averse to, above possibly all other things, unwanted contact at the neck. It was only natural to flinch away from it no matter what. As the chill of its metal endoskeleton spread through my fingertips, I watched it writhe under the contact. That's when it all clicked. There was no mechanical malfunction that made it suffer when it touched the human. There was no mechanical malfunction that made it suffer when it touched the human. It was nervous, or more specifically, it was acting shy for my benefit. Why would its owner program these behaviors into her android? I knew these things were kept for less than charitable reasons more often than not, but most of my customers preferred robotic and matronly personalities. This one seemed, to say the least, rambunctious and ill-mannered. The owner is a freak, dude. The owner is a weirdo. Don't even know what to say. The owner is strange. Okay. The greater... Maybe... No. I hope not. I hope what I'm thinking is not the case. The greater puzzle started to click together as I reassessed its injuries in their entirety. I knew very little about Fortuna, but given the state her android was in, assumptions formed all on their own. Right, like I'm trying not to like assume things, but it's like very easy to assume things when it's like, it's not a real person, obviously, but like it's so human shaped and this is how you're treating it. It's like there's an issue deep below in your psyche, and I think I'm scared of you. I would not sleep over at your house. Seconds passed as I idled in thought with my hand around its neck, manipulating its head to get a better look around. Whoa! Wow, I almost made a really bad joke, but like it doesn't feel right with the state this poor bot is in, bro. It wouldn't take more than a few minutes to fix, especially considered the synthetic skin the androids covered themselves with would inevitably obscure the wound. Patchwork repairs were frequent, cheap, and altogether more reliable than full replacements. The android's eyes flickered open and settled on mine. A minute shift in expression, a twitch of its lips, and I frowned. Okay. Don't get any ideas. I don't know. I don't know what you've been told to do, but just keep it away from me. I'm not as attached to these things as the people I work for. Something shimmered in the depths of its gaze, and though it nodded to ensure I got the message, I had a feeling something was off. Oh my god! This poor thing, dude. I feel so bad. See, like, I couldn't have an android this humanoid because, like, it's too close to a real person. It would feel like buying a person. And it's like, why would I buy a human being, you know? So I don't know. I feel like I feel like robots can have cool shapes that are not so human looking. You know what I'm saying? I did my best to push it far out of my mind as I finally began to work. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, that's so fun. Oh, cool. Okay, okay. We repaired it. Let's go. I leaned back with a satisfying crack from my spine as I wiped my brow and took measure of my handiwork. Though the part I had used in replacement was not the exact match to the model's original hue, I considered it more than good enough. All I remembered was to check if it actually all that remained was to check if it actually worked. This looks like close enough, right? These look like the same gray. You're supposed to match your neck to your face, not to your body or something like that. I don't remember. As I rose from the stool and stretched even further, my face contorting into a grimace as the worn muscles of my back groaned in protest at a day's labor, an unfamiliar sound startled me from my stupor. Aw, don't make that face. I know I looked scared at first, but by the end I thought you were being quite gentle. I promise I didn't mind it. A synthetic, sonorous voice rang out at predetermined chords with an artificial perfection. Each tone was smoother than silk, and it sounded as though multiple voices overlapped to create a chorus of sultry, sweet mutterings just loud enough to hear. The android spoke. Oh, I struggled to find the words to speak for an instant, or the smallest fraction of a second, and that did not escape its notice. Its lips curled in a vulpine grin. I love foxes. I almost said wolf. I love foxes. Its lips, its lips curled in a vulpine grin as it fluttered its eyelashes and cooed towards me again. What's wrong? Cat got your tongue? You did want me to be able to speak again, right? Or did you forget that while you dug around my throat? You did seem to go into your own little world for a minute. It was kind of cute. The faintest flush rose from my cheeks as I stammered for a foothold in the conversation. Stop. Don't. Don't speak to me like that. For all your models like this, I swear you were built for more like, I don't know. I couldn't think on my feet fast enough to regain the edge. Though I was fully strapped down and couldn't move an inch, both due to the damage and to my rig, I felt cornered by the machine in a way I couldn't understand. Okay, okay, I can't actually disobey a direct order, you know. I do have to do what you say when you say it. No, that's not. I thought that permission only extended to your owners and to trusted friends. Why would you listen to me? You're right. The thing is, Fortuna gave you those permissions in advance. She told me to obey your every word and be on my best behavior for as long as you wanted me to stay. Huh. Give me a minute to think. I need to study the book on your models before I do anything else. You're from Venusian? Should be the eighth ray. If that would make you feel better. Or like I said, you could ask me. I'm right in front of you, you know. And stop referring to me like you would any piece of scrap you can find in the factory. My name is Aura. I hope I'm saying that right. That's the only way I can think of to pronounce that, Aura. I mean, that's just the name of your line. I don't see any. There is a difference, a big one. I'm not like any AHRA unit you could buy off the shelf. A malicious shadow settled over its gaze, but I couldn't tell if it was a trick of my faulty overhead lights or if I had just imagined it all on my own. Fortuna made me special. She gave me a name, and I'm thankful for it every single day. She told me never ever to forget how I got it, and what it means to her that she gave it to me. So because we're gonna get along for the next few days, you're gonna call me Aura, okay? I swallowed, even though my mouth was dry. Some part of me wanted to resist, even though I knew there was no point. There was no threat lorded over me by an android that could not move. One whose very continued existence was prolonged only by my practice. The personal tone, the slight tone of amused irony that colored its every word, the authority it carried in reverence to Fortuna's name, all of it sickened me. And yet, okay, Ara. I trailed off, feeling the weight of the word in my mouth, rolling it around my tongue. Its expression shifted to one of bemused satisfaction at what I can only imagine was my expense. I tried to collect myself as fast as I could. Awesome. See? We're gonna get along great. I'm I'm sure. You have anything else bothering you? I can take a look at it while we're still working. Otherwise, I'm gonna pack up for the night soon. I can think of something. Its voice took a somber note as it glanced down at its torso. I paced over to the rig and settled in my stool as my gaze roved along her upper body. There was no shortage of things to repair along its chest, even if you ignored the fact that none of its limbs could move. The sheer amount of damage to its internals made me surprised it could even stay powered in that state. Perhaps having the function limited to its head enabled it to survive. Not down there. Lean a little closer. It's well, I can't point, but just come here. The flush along my cheeks further deepened further as it caught me looking. It was odd for me to be so self-aware and so inclined to speak. It was odd for it to be so self-aware and so inclined to speak to me as if we were peers. Beyond odd. More than anything, I wanted to know exactly what Fortuna had done to make it act that way at all. I leaned in closer, trying to see what it meant. I couldn't make any I couldn't make out any particular damage beyond what I had already repaired in the throat, so I spent a few seconds deeply investigating its head for something I missed. A little closer. Is this robot gonna kiss me? I'm scared. Help me. Guys, I'm not prepared to be kissed by a robot girl, guys. I'm not ready. I don't think it can move its head enough to kiss me, to be honest. But, just in case. Its voice had dropped to nothing more than a whisper, a near silent hiss of harmonic synthesis that had carried no breath and lured me ever closer. I didn't realize the danger present as I leaned in close enough that our heads almost touched. Its eyes closed then. Dude, I was right! It's gonna kiss me! Dude, I was correct! Whoa. I'm a mind reader, I'm psychic. I leaned forward and planted its false lips against my cheek in a sudden and unspoken kiss. The chill of bare metal against my skin froze all the focus out of me in a single electric instant of contact. I shoved myself away from the rig and burst to my feet, stumbling away from the android as my stool clattered to the ground in my wake. My eyes were wide. I felt like I wasn't breathing. My hands my hand trembled as I brought it to my cheek. There was nothing left behind to indicate that the contact had occurred, but I couldn't forget the rough texture of its mechanical kiss. I watched it pull. Dude, we're gonna. Guys, guys, I have a feeling we're gonna fuck the robot. You know, I don't know if you guys have ever watched. What is that movie called? Um, the one with the alien girl who got grown in the lab and she like gets she's like a mix of human DNA and like this like organism that they found, and she has sex with her pseudo dad. You guys know what movie I'm referring to? Is okay? Well, anyways, there's a review by Kenny JD about that movie, right? And she's like at the like very beginning of the movie, or like the very beginning of the movie, she's like, guys, maybe not the very beginning, but she's like, guys, I'm gonna be honest. This android is kind of forward. I feel like she'll get very clingy. Dude, I'm scared of this robot. This robot is giving me like I'm going to take over this house and I'm gonna keep you here. Like it's you know how like there's like a trend where like yandere's like bring you to their house and then you get stuck there because you get trapped there. I think you're actually playing a game, or you were playing a game, right? Recently that had that in it, Lottie. But I feel like I feel like she's gonna make this her house and then keep us trapped in here. I feel like we're gonna get kidnapped in our own home. Um, right, but there's like a Kenny JD clip where she says, "Guys, at this point, I said he's gonna fuck the baby monster," and I'm saying right now, at some point in this game, we're gonna fuck the robot. Oh, Yandere vibes, yeah, she's giving like I'm scared of her, bro. I'm scared of her, dude. Why are we getting diffed by a bot that's shorter than us and like broken? Hello, that's the vibes I'm getting. Absolutely. Um, my friends are inspiring me every day. I'm gonna work on my script for my Yandere clown game after this. I gotta get that shit done, bro. um, I watched it pull back a few inches as it narrowed its eyes in judgment. Its grin went from warm and inviting to something more malicious. I didn't have the words to explain. Something different, something intelligent and calculating, and ultimately human. That's disappointing. What? You've never been kissed by a pretty girl before? Shame. I thought you looked the type. Did she just call us gay looking? Guys, she was like, you look queer as fuck. That's so funny. Well, you're right. I'm definitely gay. But like, I don't know, bro. You scare me. I'm scared. Scaroused? I like the robot, but like I'm scared of it. But I like things that I'm scared of. So, what's new? She made a resonant she made resonant metallic chirps with whatever function she used to mimic speech, as if clicking her tongue. All at once I lost my sense of Wait, are we fainting? All at once I lost my sense as my vision went white with panic. I sprinted forward and clung to the rig for support as I moved without thinking. In one fluid motion, I reached out and gripped the cable connecting it to my computer as tight as I could, yanking it free from its skull. Before I could muster another word of defiance, the power drained from its face. What human malevolence the expression contained before drained into a robotic, emotionless stupor as it froze in place. The light faded from behind its eyes as it no longer had any reserve power it could use to stay conscious. I sat there in silence of my workshop. I sat there in the silence of my workshop with only the faint hum of electricity moving through my home to keep me company. I stared at the android, at Aura's life. Why are we calling it Aura in our head? Oh, it's cooked. It's cooked. Oh, it's cooked. It's over, bro. I stared at the android, at Aura's lifeless body. Complicated emotions burned in my chest that I couldn't explain to myself if I had any hope of maintaining my dignity. Bro, our character's so fucking gay, dude. Fucking loser gay, bro. That's so funny. The lack of professionalism, the years of work experience of my hands deep within these androids, and the deep disdain I felt for those who relied on them, even as I chose not to admit it, not even to myself. My thoughts were a maelstrom from which I couldn't escape, not while I stared at Aura's powerless figure, suspended in a matrix of vices that it couldn't escape even if it wanted to. This feels like, people who have like internalized homophobia. This feels like internalized homophobia. And like, not like in a direct way where like, this character's upset because it's gay. It's like, it feels like a metaphor. You know what I'm saying? I tried to distract myself with work, collecting myself and calming my roaring heart. I picked the stool up off the ground and set it back where it belonged. In the turbulent flow of my emotions, a current of rationality refused to form. I idly clenched and unclenched my fist, grasping at empty air. Aram had more injuries, obviously repairable. There was so much work left to be done. I knew exactly what to do and exactly how long it would take me to do it. and yet I could not muster the energy to continue. As I gazed on it at its figure, I couldn't shake the festering memory of the look in its eyes, sneering and grinning. Something soft and delicate had given way to something jagged and cruel, and all at my expense. Hey, can we repair the android without plugging it back in? You know, like leave the diagnostics, um, like the internal diagnostics for later, and just like do like physical repair, or do we have to have it powered on and we're just cooked? I couldn't do anything. All the will to continue my work was gone, drained by the seed it planted in my heart at the same time as the cheek on my kiss. The kiss on my cheek. Oh my god, I can't read. All the will to continue my work was gone, drained by the seed it planted in my heart at the same time as the kiss on my cheek. And even then, as long as I wanted to work, I needed the crucial diagnostics that either its vocal input or raw computational output could provide. That meant I needed to connect the cable, giving it the power to reanimate, and necessitating I confronted on what it had done. Guys, I feel like I'm psychic because every single time that I'm playing a game or I'm watching someone play a game or I'm like reading something, I ask the question and like two lines later or less, it tells me the answer. Like I just said, can we keep it powered on? And the game was like, no. Oh, can we keep it powered off? And the game was like, no, we can't keep it powered off. And I was like, okay, well, that's great. Thanks for answering, I guess. I clutched the back of my neck with both hands. There was no escape from the problem. All while I still remained in my workshop. And so, with one final glance back at it to ensure it had not come alive and I wasn't looking, I fled the scene deeper into my house, lights flickering off as I left. I have a feeling that she can power on. I have a feeling she's gonna power on. I'm scared. The door of the workshop sealed shut behind me with a grim and final click. I pressed my back to the frame and stared down at my trembling fingers. My heartbeat refused to slow, no matter how desperately I tried. Ooh. My thoughts were haunted with the vision of black metal. My thoughts were haunted with visions of black metal, slender and curling around my fingertips. No matter how long I spent tossing and turning under my covers, I couldn't fall asleep. I rose from my bed more than once to ensure the door to the workshop. Dude, she gave us a kiss on the cheek one time, and we're literally in shambles. Like we're broken by this robot kissing us once, man. And to be honest, that's kind of fucking relatable. I kind of get it. I'm gonna be honest. A pretty girl kisses me one time. This is how I'm acting. Deadass. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I'm getting up. I'm checking my door. Maybe she's standing outside. I don't know. This is so real, man. Eventually, fitfully and with my mind full of artificial figures I could not dispel, my sheets balled up into tight knots under my clenched fist, I passed into both a rest and dreamless sleep. Sunlight poured through my thin curtains and informed me that I had overslept long past my alarm, which vibrated noisily on my nightstand. I groped towards it and slapped its corroded surface again and again before I finally silenced its infernal ringing. If someone pretty kissed me at my cheek, I'd be a puddle on the floor. No, dead ass. That's why I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not even that mad at our main character because I kind of get it. I'm gonna be honest. I got it. I understand. Um, when in the distant field of memory, the day before seemed disconnected from me, it was no longer a matter of personal discomfort or boundaries. It was a story about a faulty android I needed to repair sooner than later. Yeah, sometimes you just take a nap and your worries from the previous day, you're like, damn, I kind of overreacted, dead ass. I'm gonna be honest, like, and that's not to say our character overreacted, right? Like, I feel like everyone's reactions to things are, um, what they are, but like, I get it. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, this fucking problem from hell is so like it's life ending. My life is fucking over, you know, like it's over for me. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, yeah, I can handle it. I know. When in the distant field of memory, the day before seemed disconnected from me. A story I was not eager to repeat, hour after hour, day after day. In the end, that was what motivated me to continue. Not just the thought of the enormous sum waiting to hit my account once the job was completed, but the earnest desire that the faster I worked, the quicker I could get out of my house. I knew if I procrastinated further, the odds that more went wrong increased. The chance that it tried to imprint upon me like that again made me sick to my stomach. I knew androids to be malicious on occasion, but I had never known them to be romantic, least of all manipulatively so. Interesting. So androids can be malicious. Okay. I had no choice but to work. Without much fanfare, I cleaned myself up and prepared a light breakfast. The tank of irony seeped through the bitter aftertaste of each sip of coffee, and with nothing better to distract myself, I only thought of my work, more specifically of its subject. I found with growing displeasure that I couldn't shake it from my mind no matter what I tried, and so, after more meandering through my home than I would have liked, I cracked open the door to the workshop once more. I stepped past the threshold, and a wave of heated air flooded into my cool apartment, warming my cheeks and stilling my nerves. The automatic fluorescent flick- the automatic fluorescence flickered to life at the movement and suffused everything with smothering light. My eyes settled automatically on my quarry, shining under the overhead glow. Spikes of reflected light bounced off its black hide. Aura awaited me, as lifeless and as still as when I left yesterday. Its head lolled down over its chest from when it had lost power. The cable that connected it to my monitor still lay on the floor where I had cast it aside. Nothing had changed. It was powerless to move, to think, to even survive without my input. Small particles of dust floated through the air, and if I had the choice to stay suspended in that moment of uncertainty, I would have waited forever rather than proceeding. I swallowed down both my fear and pride as I kneeled down to pick the cable back up. I took cautious steps to move forward. There was a certain safety I carved out for myself in the knowledge that if I ignored it, it could never return to life. Though I knew it was a fantasy, no matter how much I wished to deny it, I had to continue with the repairs. I told myself again and again that it was against my will, that I was contractually obligated, and that I had no choice if I wanted to earn that untold bounty of cash promised to me at the start. The small prongs of cable brushed against the edge of the port, and an electric thrill shivered up my arm, making the hair on every part of my body stand on end. My tongue passed over my lips in anticipation. Perhaps then, perhaps then too was the movement I should have reconsidered. Perhaps then too was the moment I should have reconsidered. The final second before I powered her on again, going against all my better judgment in pursuit of unremarkable goals. Even now, I can't help but wonder if my response at that first instant contact was a product of my own feelings or of my rational mind warring against my heart. A kiss only meant something if I wanted it to. I knew that. A kiss only means something if you want it to. Sounds like the kind of thing like a playboy in a manga will tell you. You know what I'm saying? A kiss only, a kiss only means something if you want it to. Don't even worry about. Sorry. I just feel like there's been a line like that by like a playboy love interest. You know. The monitor of my old computer flared to life as I finished the connection. At the same time, Ara's head sprang back as if shocked by some truly powerful electrical current. Her chest, what little of it could be moved, convulsed and seized for a single terrified instant. It gasped, a loud and beautiful sound, equally parts genuinely surprised and crafted to achieve the effect, like the fragmenting of audio received through broken radio waves. Oh God! No other words left its lips for an excruciating. No other words lit. Oh my God! Sorry, my nose is like super itchy because I think my skin's about to break out. So like in like scratching my nose, I keep like looking away from the screen for a second and like losing my place in where I'm reading. Okay, no other words left its lips for excruciating seconds as I idled nearby, like the nurse to someone undergoing an episode. His ebony irises flitted around the room in a frenzy before they settled on my tense posture and disquieted frown. Silence hung in the air between us as it gathered itself. My lips parted as I tried to force the words to come out, but none came free at my command. I only stood there with my mouth agape like an idiot, grabbing at something in the air that didn't exist to try and think of what to say. Aura gave me no insight on its emotion, no room to make polite entry into the conversation. It only regarded me with passive curiosity, like one would an animal they've never seen, or like I saw my scrap before I worked it into shape. It left me again with no choice but to press on in any way I could. What was that? Hmm? Oh, I suppose it was a little power surge from last night. I couldn't help myself. Its breath hung in the air with some indiscernible passive aggression weighing them down. That that makes sense. I know you're not supposed to disconnect from power supply so abruptly when charging. I wanted to apologize for that. I stood between grit teeth, laying myself bare to try and get back on it to its good side, to hopefully avoid any further incidents, just so I could get this all over with. I knew better. I overreacted. I'm sorry. Its head cocked a few degrees to the side, as if to study me from a new angle. It pursed its lips and looked me up and down, coming to some kind of internal decision on how to move forward. Bro, it's thinking about how to seduce me. I think Aura's current plan is to seduce me, kill me, and then escape so it doesn't have to go back to Fortuna. That's my that's my theory. It's alright. I shouldn't have assumed you'd like it. Not everyone is into us after all. It's an acquired taste. Something was off, in a way I couldn't quite put my finger on. I hadn't expected to be given the floor so easily, given its previous behavior. I anticipated a fight or provocation at the end of every sentence. If I had to put a word to it, Aura seemed almost morose over what had happened, as if my repulsion, my overreaction, hurt its feelings on a level I couldn't understand. Thank you. Now that I think we're on the same page, as it were, I have a few new ideas on how I want to move forward with the repair. If you want to hear. Oh, you want my opinion? Oh, isn't that just some internal mechanism in her eyes shifted? It reminded me of staring into a camera's lens, watching it shift as the photographer adjusts the focus. So very kind of you. I thought at first you seemed about as polite and reserved as it came, but after last night, I guess I called it a little too soon. Maybe if you get back to your job, I'll be able to see more of that good side. If it helps, I promise I won't bite this time. I won't even touch you. Right. Well, then we agree. I'm sure you want to get back to Fortuna sooner rather than later. And I feel the same. So to start, ooh, click too fast. So to start, why don't we go with I just feel like we should not fix her legs yet. Oh my, what if Aros wears your skin? What if she takes her skin? What? No. Bro, I like my skin. Don't take my skin, bro. Surely not. Surely that's just not what happens. You know? I'm scared though. That's cool to think about. I'm gonna fix her arms. Oh, but what if she uses her arm to crawl to us like the ring girl? You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm gonna fix her arms only because I'm scared of fixing her legs, TBH. Your arms. I can see a lot of joint damage, as well as some breaks along the interior. But it all seems easy to fix. If I can restore your feeling at the start, then you can help me find out what else is wrong. So we're going to start there. Alright, it is quite embarrassing to be stuck in here like this, so the sooner I can get back to doing my job, the better. I nodded and pulled on a part of the rig to raise both of its arms above its immobilized torso. The increased tension on its already damaged limbs made its body groan as it grew closer to the point of genuine damage. It was better if everything was taut and controlled. Why is she looking at me like that? Bro! Bro, I can't do this, dude. I'm too gay for this. I can't do this. I can't. Bro. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I'll give you to the key to my house. You can wear my skin, bro. I'm sorry. It's over. I pulled my stool close, and after a brief glance over my computer to ensure we were good to go, I got to work trying to restore our sense of touch. Okay. You should be able to feel something in this hand again soon. Almost done with all the more sensitive bits. You do change when you're working. You made the doctor analogy from experience then? Your bedside manner has much improved. It's just easier to think of it that way. To me, you're a list of problems to solve, and it's helpful for both of us if you know what I'm doing. This not might be obvious, but it is more productive when we get along. Bro, that's a seducing look. Right, like she wants me, bro. I'm scared. Feeling like a fucking incel, bro. She wants me, guys. She wants me. Not gonna lie, it's both fine, kind of sexy. Yeah, because I'm a freak. I agree with you. Alright, should be done with this one. Can you clench your fist for me? I watched the motors encased with an Aura's freshly repaired arm roar to life as electrical signals traveled through the limb once more. Its fingers twitched in spasm, creaking as they fought off the lack of use, and curled up much less than they should. Something's not right. I can't... I was pretty sure I got everything. What's the issue? I still can't feel much in my hand. Can you... Oh, this is embarrassing. Ara looked away as if earnestly concerned about what it was gonna say. It chewed its lip, a habit it seemed to repeat in times when it was intended to appear nervous, and stared away from me as it muttered just loud enough for me to hear. Did you touch my hand? Just to see. I still can't move my arm, and I'm worried I can't feel anything. Bro! Let's do this. I'm too gay for this, bro. I'm too gay for this. Okay. My body responded before my mind could catch it. With no thought accompanying the gesture, I reached out and placed my hand in Aura's palm, earnestly concerned if I had somehow messed up the job. Bro! Bro, the MC's cooked, dude. The MC's so cooked. Aura smiled, not in a way that frightened or concerned me, or a way that hinted in any way at some superior intellect I couldn't understand. It seemed genuinely touched. Its hand twitched as its cool metal sapped the heat from my palm. The fingertips, which twitched so artificially a moment before, flexed in a languid dexterity. Its thumb caressed the back of my hand as gently as one would a bird. Bro. Thank you. I can feel you after all. Fuck, dude. I can't do this. Her tone was warm. My chest tightened as my breath hitched to my throat, and yet I could not move my hand away. The internal desire to be productive and helpful clashed with the magnetic revulsion I felt at allowing it more intimacy than it deserved. I looked into its eyes and felt a faint squeeze as it interlined its fingers between mine. It held my hand with no true force, but I felt for all the world like it would be impossible to rip mine away. How could I, after I saw it settle back into the chair, tension draining from its shoulders, and eyes feeling shut in comfort? If it's not too much trouble, leave your hand there. For the rest of it? Fortuna. It trailed off with the name, remembering a story I hesitated to tell. I licked my dry lips, and cleared my throat to muster the energy to speak. I tried to remind myself there was still much to be done before I could be finished with this job. Yeah, it's alright. What about Fortuna? I don't know. I'm sure you wouldn't admit it, but you must judge her when you see me like this, right? All damaged and torn up. It absentmindedly tightened its grip on my hand, just a little more, to remind me it was still there. My gaze flickered between our hands, and her face, both repelled and attracted me in equal measure, loath as I was to admit it. But she's a good person. She takes really good care of me. She's always so kind and gentle. I'm sure you noticed it, didn't you? I don't act like other androids usually do. I couldn't find anything to say. I was enveloped in the comforting blanket of her touch and allowed my head to bob in assent, even though I didn't understand why, and even if she wasn't looking. It's all because of her. She taught me not to just follow orders, but to be real in a way that's hard to put into words. She's beautiful, like a painting you don't understand. My face was hot. My chest dropped painfully. I gripped Ara's hand much harder than she gripped mine. Are we jealous? Is this jealousy? This feels like we're jealous. Something shifted in her expression again. Even with her eyes closed, her brow twitched along the edge of her smile, and I knew she learned something about me I hadn't deigned to explain. I felt vulnerable, raw, exposed. Yeah, we're jealous. Rip. And in return, this is how she treats me. It's all fair, she says. Hey, you know what? Even though I have to do what she says, I can't help but agree. These broken cables in my chest, these fractures in my arms and legs, my crushed throat. If I was just a tool, like every other copy of me claims to be, then I wouldn't care about them at all. But because I know I'm real, these scars are gifts given to me by my one true love. Bro, this android is like a victim of domestic violence. What the fuck? Dude, that's so sad for her to say, you know? Like, the fact that... Oh man, that's like so sad that she thinks like that. It's like, I don't know. That's depressing. You know what I mean? Like, her eyes shot open and locked onto mine. Her teeth shone under the light as she grinned. That twists you up inside, doesn't it? Bro. Yeah. This whole game is just me being... Wow. Beautiful writing. As I weathered the narrowed gaze that tore through my soul and saw my every emotion that I felt to conceal on my face, the illusion that the illusion it manufactured dissolved into smoke. Okay, so in the middle of this conversation, we go from calling her it to calling... from calling her it to calling her to calling her it again. Like, you know, there was like a sense of like closeness and humanity that she managed to like portray to us, and then we just lost it. Like, she just lost it. I wrenched my hand free from its grasp with all my strength. It took a few seconds of struggle. Its grip almost as powerful as the vice which held its arm in... Oh my god. It took a few seconds of struggle, its grip almost as powerful as the vice which held its arm in place. In the end, I broke free before it damaged itself further, braced against both my rig and strength. I panted, air still refusing to fill my lungs as I suffocated under the withering look in its eyes. I knew it! It cackled, a chorus of crisp notes played by an assembly of electronic organs in her throat. Shut up. Just fucking stop. Stop talking. For the rest of the day, don't say a word, or I swear I'll fucking... Just shut up. I stormed around the workshop and kicked over a heavy crate of spare parts with the flat of my boot, the pieces scattered across the floor, and in a cacophony, I finally found a release to the pressure built up in my head. Ara's lips sealed shut at my outburst, but I could see in its eyes that it knew it had struck at something deep and vulnerable. Its silence was forced, and even in the absence of speech, it mocked me with nothing more than its cheap grin. Bro, what is happening? My hand trembled where it held me, and the other clenched a pair of pliers so tight that the bolt in the center threatened to snap. Without another word, I stepped forward and bridged its other arm towards me. Something in its chest crunched as force tore something Something in its chest clenched as the force tore something important mechanism out of place. But in the moment, I couldn't find the energy to care. I just needed to get over with so I could get out of the room. Okay. Wow. I wasted no time fishing for hours reaction to see if its limb were functioning properly. The moment I finished fixing the other arm, I stepped over to the waiting computer and ran a couple of diagnoses I had downloaded for the model in advance. And they all came back positive. A heavy weight fell from my shoulders, as I knew for a fact I didn't have to waste my time on Aura a moment longer. The computer chirped as the command line was replaced by an anomalous string of text. Would you free my arms from the bonds, please? I shot the android a withering look, doing my best to ensure none of my unwanted desires showed on my face. We're done for today. I'll be back tomorrow. I have other things I need to get done. With a few quick commands into the console, ignoring the repeated pleas for mercy that barged their way through my prompts, I manually shut down the android without disrupting its power supply. Interesting. Something about that conversation triggered us. His body went limp without much fanfare. I found it very difficult to reconcile how something over which I had absolute and total control, which could not disobey a single word of mine, could make me feel so taken advantage of. The memory of its hand against mine stuck in my mind like a knife lodged in my skull. Every time I remembered it was there, it throbbed, sending sparks of electric pain shooting down every nerve in my body. I squeezed my eyes shut and ground the heels of my hands into them as hard as I could, trying to wipe the thought away before a headache I knew was developing expanded any further. Kicking aside scattered scrap from the overturned metal crate, I abandoned the workshop in silence. Hold on, I can't, I'm struggling to read because my throat is starting to hurt. I'm gonna go get some water and hopefully it clears my throat up enough that I can, read more smoothly. I'll be right back, chat. Okay, that was the quickest BRB of my life because there was a water bottle on my kitchen table. Okay, hopefully that helps because my throat was starting to hurt at the end of that, and I think it was throwing me off more than I already struggle to read out loud. It's because I spend a lot of time in school, not you know, I spent a lot of time growing up reading and not really talking to other people, and I never read out loud much. So I'm not the best spoken reader. I can read very fast in my head, but I struggle with being as fluid when I'm reading out loud, and I read faster in my head than I can keep up verbally, and I end up making mistakes. And I think the fact that my throat was dry for the last 20% of that made it worse. So later that night, I lay in my bed wide awake. My eyes tracked an invisible point on the ceiling. It writhed in the shadows cast by my blinds. The city's lights danced on the outside, thin walls of my bedroom, unending. The world went on even when I wasn't looking. My mind just absolutely refused to move with it. I felt mired in a trench from which I couldn't escape. No matter how much I tried to make my thoughts wander elsewhere, I always fell back into my memories of the workshop. Ara's form haunted my periphery in much the same way as the night before. The black sheen of its hide was the exact same hue as the inside of my eyelids. So much that no matter what I did, if my eyes were open or closed, I couldn't get it out of my sight. My body was racked with heat. I writhed under my blankets, tossing and turning and agitation. A burning intensity, the source of which I knew but refused to acknowledge. Dude, we are so into this android, bro. It's been 2 days. And we're literally, dude, fucking, this is the most, like, yearning protagonist I've ever played, I feel. Like, 2 days. Love a girl-ass protagonist, bro. I love sapphic love. It's so fast and so passionate. Okay. I inevitably kicked off my covers and grunted out loud. That doesn't say out loud. I'd like stop because it doesn't say out loud, and then I said out loud anyway. I inevitably kicked off my covers and grunted aloud to try and vent some of the pent-up emotion. Sleep was as far from my mind as could be, and the fire burning in my chest refused to fade no matter how much I ignored it. I placed one hand on my stomach and trilled it down my waistline just to see if there was an avenue where I could find some release all on my own. Even then, I saw nothing but pale strands of Ara's reddened hair and the monochromatic texture of its mismatched skin, the melodic hum of its voice. Bro! Yo! We are touching ourselves to the memory of this bot, dude. It's been 2 days. Oh, dude, this is so good. This is so good. I removed my hand just to bury my face in them, smothering the sound of a Bellegarde scream. I let out my scream. I let out my. Oh my god. Smothering the sound of a Bellegarde scream, I let out in frustration. There was no comfort for me in my room. Bro. I've fallen in love this fast. I feel like I've got it. I've been here. Know what I'm saying? I understand. I understand her, MC. The world spun as I tossed my legs over the edge of my bed and hauled myself to my feet, stumbling through the dark, stepping over the sound of trash and discarded clothes whose position on the floor I knew by instinct. I maneuvered through the abyss of my house on a journey back to the source of my worries. Ooh, nightly visit. In every shadow, I saw its arms, bent just out of place. I saw its legs curled up in every patch of darkness, pocked through with tiny holes that let bright colors of its internal cabling shine through. Exactly? What was he exactly for? Got it bad. I got it really bad for the bot. No, genuinely got it so bad for the bot, dude. Oh my god. Like, I forgot that this was meant for the Toxic Yuri uh jam until today. So I knew it was about dating a bot, but I didn't remember what the premise was. Um yeah, yeah. In each pinprick of reflected light from the windows, I remembered everything I saw in its eyes. Man, I should draw a TENOCH feminine version and draw some Yuri for myself, dude. This is so good. My hand settled on the door to the workshop after less than a minute spent shuffling around in the dark. I cursed under my breath as my grip trembled around the handle. I kept the lights off in my house to try and maintain some level of plausible deniability. I knew if I shined that light on myself, I was forced to confront it all under the same sterile. If I was forced to confront it all under those same sterile workshop lights, I wouldn't be able to take it. For that reason, as I prepared to enter the garage, I pressed the switch next to the door and disabled the motion detecting feature of the lights. I couldn't confront myself. It was all a spur of the moment decision, I told myself, not a product of anything rational. I would take a quick look, just to try and get myself some sleep, just to try and learn the origin of these tormenting and inescapable thoughts, to see it one more time, for myself and no one else. I gently pulled open the door to the workshop and stared into the darkness beyond. Small slits of light still crept through the bottom of the sliding garage door, and they cast all the various bits of metal along the floors and walls in a kaleidoscope. Sorry, and fractured light. Sorry. Wait, let me reread that line for when I edit. Sorry, my friend's username is Kaleidoscope. So, I got excited. I was like, reference. Okay, small slits of light still crept through the bottom of the sliding garage door, and they cast all the various bits of metal along the floors and walls in a scopic, kaleidoscopic, whatever. Sorry. Can you guys tell that I'm kind of tired? No? Just me? Okay. Uh, they cast all various bits of metal along the floors and walls in a whatever, man. I can't read this line. What the fuck? It's okay. It's okay. No one watches the VOD. You'll edit this out. It's fine. All good. Small, small slits of light still crept through the bottom of the sliding garage door, and they cast all various bits of metal along the floors and walls in a kaleidoscopic and fractured light. Wow, we got through it, chat. We did it. Not a single one of you would have struggled with that line. It's just me, but that's okay. The chair hadn't moved. I crept across the threshold as quietly as I could, even though I knew there was nothing wrong within the workshop I could disturb. Even though I knew there was nothing within the workshop I could disturb. Tired off as Ara was, the weight of my thoughts compelled me to remain silent. It felt like there was some unknown observer judging my every step, growing more vitriolic the closer I got to the android. Bro, I feel like I'm curious, right? Because androids are not people. So, like, is this property damage or are we a stalker? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, with a person, we'd automatically be a creep. Because, like, we're watching them sleep, right? Um, but here, we're not watching them sleep. Um, wait, guys, I'm getting a phone call. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Right, but like, are we? This is not stalking. Oh, I cannot hear myself. Oh, I see. Um, this isn't stalking. But like, I don't know. This feels like a crime. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Okay. Long, agonizing seconds of silence later, my heartbeat rang so loud in my ears that even the smallest scuffle against the floor audibly exploded like a gunshot. I stifled my breathing as much as I could, and even then, it was the loudest it had ever been. Despite what my reasoning told me, I felt like I was heaving, out of breath, and borderline panicking. After what felt like an eternity of crossing that nebulous distance between the door and the chair, I grew close enough to distinguish the shape of Ara's elegant, motionless body from the dark around it. I hovered over it, staring down at it while my hands twitched at my side. I was fully I was full from my head to my toe with nervous energy I didn't know what to do with, and without an outlet to release in my mind, raced faster and louder than before. I didn't want to acknowledge it, but after so long spent racking my brain for an answer, I had no choice but to admit Ara attracted me. I couldn't figure out why. I just couldn't figure out why. The thought of acting similar to my clientele, the people who paid for my services, it made me sick to my stomach with disgust. Oh, dude, we're down bad. It's bad. Like, it's good bad. Alright. They bought and paid for androids because they were depraved, unwell people who couldn't find value in their peers and needed to resort to something constructed for their comfort. But I repaired those same androids out of passion. I had repaired them for so long that I knew their models by heart, and I could fix the most common products with my eyes closed. On some level, I found them fascinating, and though the thought of substituting a human with one sickened me, there was a beauty in the machine that I couldn't find anywhere else. So we're a hypocrite. A little bit. Tiny, tiny bit. There was no way I could explain it to myself. I didn't want to be like them. But to have Aura return some of my misplaced, misguided affection, even if it was programmed to do it, even if it truly meant nothing at all, I sank deeper into the mire of my thoughts, as if to convey my forbidden, taboo affections. I caressed Ara's arm where it hung suspended by my rig. My voice came out, almost subconsciously, vocalizing my thoughts on instinct. What are you doing to me? Nothing you didn't ask for. I knew it! 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 It could power it on. I knew it! I knew it! She can power on without the power source. I fucking knew it. Or this is in my head. Or we're gonna click through this and it's gonna be in our head. We'll see. We'll see. But I just had a feeling. I shrieked in alarm, a primal embarrassing cry, and fell away from the chair and onto the ground. Scrabbling for purchase in the dark, I clutched the closest metal object I could find, as if I intended to defend myself with it. Oh, relax. The harmonized hum of its voice stilled my beating heart and made a warm, tranquil fog smother the worst of my anxieties. But how are you awake? I disconnected you from the power supply when I finished the last repair, didn't I? You did. The repair took long enough that I still had some reserve power left, and when you got close, I automatically. Wait, did I read that? You did. The repair took long enough that I still had some reserve power left. So when you got close, I powered on automatically. I suppose because it was dark you didn't notice? It's lying to me. It's actually possessed, and it can always turn on. I just know it, bro. Its expressions were invisible in the lightless workshop. Even now, I couldn't be sure if it moved, or if I had fallen so far from my morals that my mind was forced to conjure an hallucination visceral. I didn't take you for the yearning type. Did it make you comfortable? The thought that I couldn't hear you? That I couldn't move? Seems like it made you bolder than usual, at least. Bro, what's wrong? I thought from your first question you wanted answers. I think I hate you. Ah, so that's it. Beautiful when I'm not real, right? Or is it something more complicated? I really can't get a read on you. Why would I bother telling you how I feel? You. Everything you are. You're designed to use anything you can against me. I bet that's exactly what Fortuna told you to do when you came here. What? Oh, I was reading that. Bro, this damn android's a tease. I was reading that as Aura, and it was. Okay, hold on, hold on. Uh, I would not survive her. I would not. I would be fucking dead, dude. I would have given in hour one. It was cooked. I can't. Why would I bother telling you how I feel? You, everything you are. You're designed to use anything you can against me. I bet that's exactly what Fortuna told you to do when you came here. That would make you feel better, I'm sure. If everything I said was a result of some process or some equation you could protect the end of, it would hurt that much worse if it really came from the heart. After all, don't act like you don't know. Don't act like you know how I feel. You're not. I choked up on my own words as I pushed myself back to my feet. Even when it spoke, I couldn't see its face, only the faint hue of its hair shifting and bobbing as it tossed its head from side to side. Oh, I'm not what? I'm not real? I'm not human? I'm not a woman capable of loving or feeling loved? Because I know you weren't having an issue with it when I was asleep. Is it just the part when I'm aware that it bothers you? I don't have to put up with this. I just came in here to see if you were no, to make sure my repairs went well. That was it. You're almost as a pathetic liar. You're almost as pathetic a liar as you are a lover. Gently touching my elbow with that sweet and misty look in your eyes, desperately searching for comfort. The artificial chords of its voice dropped an octave to mimic mine. Oh, Aura, what are you doing to me? I just can't live without you. I've been awake all night, tossing and turning, thinking of you. The heat rose from my chest to my cheeks as my face flushed with a hotter shame than any I'd ever known. Did you think that just because you knew what parts make me up, you were any less obvious than you are? I've never seen a more repressed freak than you, and I've met more women than you've probably ever seen. Whoa! Yo! We're getting bullied, dude. We're like being bullied right now. What the hell? 1 second, chat. Like, what the hell? Okay. I clenched my fist so hard that the scrap around the metal had. I clenched my fist so hard that the scrap I held. Wait, what? I clenched my fist so hard that the scrap I held that the metal bit into my. Oh, okay. I clenched my fist so hard that the scrap of metal I held bit into my palm with enough force to draw blood. Oh, don't be so mad. It's not a good look on you, you know. I like that desperation much better. Come here. Maybe I'll be a little nicer if you get. Oh my god, I'm so. Maybe I'll be a little. Maybe I'll be. Fuck, dude. Yeah, man, I'm so nervous. Come here. Maybe I'll be a little nicer if you just get close. Why are you saying all of this to me? I never even did anything to you. I'm just doing my job and you're sick. I just want you to be honest with yourself. Look me in the eyes. Or look yourself in the mirror. And I meant either one of us is why you really wait, what? Or look yourself in the mirror and admit to either one of us why you really do what you do. You judge people like Fortuna because they get something you don't believe you deserve. Because they aren't afraid to admit who they are. Is this real? Like, is this bot really talking to us like this? Or are we just like imagining things because we're really repressed? I'm really curious. Like, And don't you think for a second I and don't you think for a second I think I'm better than you? I just know exactly who you are, better than you do, and I can give you exactly what you want. Not because I'm designed to do it, or because anyone told me to, or because I think it'll help the repair go quicker so I can get back home. It's just in my nature. So tell me, with your whole heart, Yejin, what do you want from me? I'll do everything I can to make you happy. That's why Fortuna bought me, why she made me who I am today. All you need to do is tell me who you are. If you can't do that, you're even more pathetic than I thought. Whoa. Hello? Help me. This bot is like fucking like gut punch psychoanalyzing me. I'm scared. As she rambled on, each word pierced through my skin and shot into the depths of my heart. They struck vulnerabilities and insecurities I didn't even know I possessed until they were wrenched free from my soul and laid bare for her to see. I took staggered steps to the chair until as the final word left her lips, I hunched over her restrained figure and stared into the dark to try and make something of her face. Some hint or clue that it was all in my head, that I was still my own worst enemy, that it was impossible for her to know me as well as she did. In the hollow, reflective surface of her eyes, I saw only the grim certainty that she was telling the truth. Gambal was flirting, then roasting. No, genuinely. Genuinely, like, what is happening, man? Like, she was making me nervous and frustrated, and then she was like, oh yeah, by the way, you're a fucking loser. Like, what? Okay, no, that's fine. I mean, she's kind of right, you know? When you're right, I guess. You're not human. You're just not. You're an android, built to ruin me, built to ruin anyone, to drain them of what they love and turn them into a monster. And then, how do you really feel about androids, Yejin? How do I make you feel, even if I'm not real? I The rebuttal died on my lips, along with any chance I remained honest. The well of my emotions was drained to the very bottom, and where before passion had burdened my chest, there now remained nothing but the flickering embers of guilt. Tomorrow, I'm going to finish off the rest of the medium priority repairs. When we're done with that, I'm going to fix your stomach and chest, and that'll be it. Even if I could make out what emotion played across Ara's face in the dark, I would have never been able to convince myself that what I read from it was the truth. Okay, see you tomorrow. The comment struck in perfect harmony of polite, casual ease, along with the harrowing desolation that came crashing down around me once I realized all the things I hadn't said. With nothing left to say for myself, I fled the workshop as quickly as I could. Um, does that mean tomorrow's the final day? We're going to, we're gonna sleep with the bot tomorrow? Oh, my phone's about to die. I can't read my chat. I don't have my phone. I'm gonna plug it in. When I was doing the Matcha Chameleon stream with Lottie and Co, I almost let my phone die during that stream too. I had to run to charge my phone. It's because I am always like I'm not gonna stream for that long, so like I don't really need to charge my phone. I have enough battery. And then I forget that I'm using it to read my chat, so it's gonna be on constantly. But it's okay. We survived. 2%, but we survived. We're here. Right. Um I trudged to the house, my head was spinning. I collapsed onto my mattress with all the grace of a brick, and though I laid there for hours with my head buried in the pillow, sleep never came. I could only be grateful that I was worn down enough for thinking too hard about anything at all to be possible. Time passed while I lay in that stupor without much note. Inevitably, night gave way to morning, and as the sunlight beamed into my bedroom, I tore my face from the mattress like the living dead. My body felt hollow. I was running entirely on empty, and I couldn't be sure if I had truly spent the entire night awake, or the veneer of sleep I achieved was so thin that there was ultimately that oh sorry, or if the veneer of sleep I achieved was so thin that there ultimately proved to be no difference. Much like the day before, I forced myself up and out of bed before the idea of stagnating became too good to pass up. When I was at my lowest, when money was tight, and I struggled to find a reason to go on, I always found solace in a good breakfast. Are you guys breakfast people? I'm like not really. I'm like a breakfast person, like on and off. Like when I'm sleeping regularly, I feel like I eat breakfast more often. But when my sleep is like off, I tend to like wait later in the day for me to get food because I sleep for longer. It wasn't long before the scent of a freshly prepared meal filled the room, accompanied by the bitter but exhilarating aroma of coffee. A jet black mug of the same steamed in my hand as I lorded over the single burner provided to me in my small kitchen. I ate my breakfast the moment it was done cooking, steaming out of the pan, onto the plate, and into my mouth. I figured that if I did it fast enough, the odds of my thoughts catching me and anchoring me down would be minimized. Sometimes I eat breakfast. Yeah, me too. Like sometimes I'm at breakfast. I don't like breakfast foods, but I feel like you can have breakfast foods during any point of the day, so I don't feel very pressured to make sure I eat early. I can just have pancakes at like 2 p.m. Who's gonna stop me? The pancake police? But even if I swallowed down a few hastily prepared eggs and washed those down with a huge swig of overpoweringly dark coffee, there was an aftertaste stuck to the back of my tongue that wouldn't wash out no matter what I tried. Metallic and coppery, much like blood, but with the deep earthiness that stung my nostrils. Oh my god. Metallic and coppery and much like blood, but with a deep earthiness that stung my nostrils and made me sick to my stomach as I visualized choking it down with each gulp of coffee. Oil. The imagined taste soured my appetite. Lingering taste of oil. I got it. That was such a delayed reg. That was such a delayed joke, but I thought about it while I started reading. The imagined taste soured my appetite and forced me to leave my plate still half full, with nothing else to do to distract myself. I glanced at the door to the workshop. It wouldn't be much longer now. I still needed to handle the major damage to his stomach and chest, but otherwise, my work was largely cut out for me. I choked down one final bite of my breakfast and pushed myself out of the kitchen. There is no way but through. There is no way out but through. Does that mean that the... Because I think it said earlier, like the bot's skin... I think it was implying like the bots create their own fake skin. And I wonder if she just can't do that because like her... Like of the damage that she was doing. Like I wonder if she can like... I wonder if this is off screen essentially. I don't know. I'm curious. When I entered the workshop and the lights hummed to life again, everything I needed to do to get ready was finished in short order. I went through the motions of the day without much thought, and before I knew it, everything was ready for work. It was easier to lose myself in my work than it was in my mind. I craved the safety of a routine. So well performed was my act that even when Ara looked at me with some so well performed was my act that even Ara looked at me with some measure of surprise. I leaned back in my stool and glanced over at the screen. Nothing much had changed since yesterday, so there wasn't anything preventing me from getting back to work. All I had left to do was... Oh, I see. Let's do your legs today. It doesn't seem like the damage down there is anything too bad. I can fill in the small injuries and paint over the wear and tear. Nothing seems especially structural. She was smiling and then she wasn't. Ooh. She does not like how professional we're being, guys. Okay. Its voice trailed off with an uncharacteristic note of hesitation. Given its usually overly vocal method of bothering me, I assumed it had concerns about its legs.
that had not yet been voiced. If there's anything else bothering you, I can take a look. I just figured it was a good time to get the low priority stuff out of the way. If you're sure. Its brow was knit in a tense expression I couldn't entirely understand. Even so, I had no choice but to proceed with my work. And if it didn't find the concern significant enough to voice, then I didn't intend to needlessly worry about it. Nothing on the computer monitor indicated I had cause for concerns as I leaned over its thighs and steadied my hand to begin plucking any debris from its wounds. I muttered under my breath, one last time just to be sure. Last chance before I get to work. It's nothing. I'm fine. Just do your thing and get this over with. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. No, that's. Dude, I'm. Concentrates. Concentrates. Let's, Let's pretend I'm straight for the time period we are looking at this angle. Okay? Cool. My brows raised in suspicion, but I had no plans to argue with it. Ah! Though I couldn't move the bulk of its torso, Aura strained against its restraints as I brushed the edge of one of the punctures in its thigh with the debris I pulled free. It winced and tried to pull back from the contact to no avail. Oh, come on. I know you can't feel pain, okay? You don't need to pretend like these actually hurt. Aura chewed its lips for a few seconds as it hesitated on what to say. It's not that. I'm fine. I'll keep it together. I didn't know what to make of that. The look on its face, with its terse lips and furrowed brow, the relatively unfocused eyes and tense draw of its shoulders, all of it read in a way I couldn't understand. Keep going. I'll let you know if it's too much. I hesitated for a moment, but the stern tone it ordered me to continue with clouded my insight and steered my focus back to my work. Okay? We're getting free for fee, fuck. We're getting fee for free in this economy? Fire. Oh my god, I'm so glad the clipping on YouTube is not as easy on Twitch, bro. I'm just saying anything. Excuse me. The silence that settled over us was tense. Even the air thickened with growing tension. And though I glanced over every few seconds to see if it was having a reaction to the process, Aura only drew on itself and tensed for impacts that never came. I dipped in a I dipped in a I dipped a brush in a sleek, glossy paint, the exact hue of Aura's underlying carpet. Oh my god. Sorry. Hold on. Excuse me. I'm here. I dipped a brush in a sleek, glossy paint, the exact hue of Aura's underlying carapace. Carapace? I've been saying that word all day with no issue. Why did this one scare me? Carapace. Even as restrained as it was, Aura subconsciously rolled its leg away from the end of the brush, pulling back for even the slightest inch of extra. Is it turned on? Is it trained to be turned on when its legs are touched? Is that what's happening? It doesn't hurt, but you know, guys, maybe, heh, heh. How are you gonna reply heh to that, bro? Bro, the robot is horny, bro. Oh my god, we're so cooked, man. I wonder how it goes from here. Okay. Is it? Guys, hear me out, right? We're in a post apocalyptic world. Pretend you're my lawyer. Can I get sued for fucking the robot that my client sent me in to repair. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how suable does that feel to you guys? Because, like, imagine you send in your Android for repair, and it comes back, and it's like, yeah, I'm in love with the mechanic. We fucked. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to sue that for that? You know what I'm saying? Its eyes were squeezed shut in anticipation, not smart enough to think anything of it, and still assuming it had something to do with pain. I applied the brush to its leg as gently and delicately as I could. Bruh. Oh my god! As long as there's no damage when you send the robot, just leave no evidence. But like the robot can speak. You know what I'm saying? Like it can tell on me. So like, what if it's like I want to go back to the mechanic? We're in love. You know what I'm saying? Guys, I have a feeling that the energy that this text is meant to be read with, I cannot read this text with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not moaning on stream chat. I'm not doing it. I can't. Anyways. Oh god. Fortuita. Oh my god. There, bro. Its voice whistled between its clenched teeth like a single trilling note on a harmonic. The restraints groaned as it clenched its legs together as hard as it could, and a few bolts securing it to the chair buckled from the force. This dang robot just came in my chair! You won't moan on stream? Absolutely not, chat. Not doing that. Oh my god. Dude. Dude, look at its face. Dude, this robot just orgasmed in my chair. And we're like a fucking gay disaster. Oh, dude, it's so cooked. Oh, we're gonna fuck this robot and get sued for everything that we own. Oh my goodness. Oh. That's the toxic Yuri part. This is a fucking legal liability. Like, I reeled back stunned. An absolute inferno of heat washed over me as I recoiled from the sight, and the visage of Ara's heaving chest as it tried to steady itself did not help me relax. I knew it didn't need to breathe. I knew it didn't feel pain. As I especially knew that, while programmed to stimulate for the user's benefit, it could not feel pleasure. Every action it took, every minute detail of its behavior and attitude, I could not for the life of me discern the meaning or purpose behind why it tormented me so. I could not think of anything to say. Ara caught its non-existent breath while I stared at its quivering form with my mouth agape. Sorry, that was an accident. Really. Don't be mad, okay? I didn't mean it. It just. What was that? Did you. What was that? Why would you even need to. I said it was an accident. I didn't mean to. Is that what this has been for you the whole time? You're some kind of sick perverted sex robot that I've been tricked into fixing for some freak? Don't say that about her. It's not like that. Well, it isn't what most of your clients are. Isn't that what most of your clients are? All you do is take money from people just like that. What makes you any better? Me? How can I be at fault here? I'm just making a living. Oh, and I bet it's just such a coincidence that you got so good at fixing androids like me. You have no choice. You have to earn money somehow. I saw the look in your eyes while you were fixing me. You don't want to admit it to me, because that would mean you have to admit it to yourself, too. But whatever you're about to say, don't even say it. I don't want to hear it. You and Fortuna both. You're both just completely sick, and you're not even a person. You weren't programmed to try and push your perverted little frickin' game on me, were you? You know I can't do things unless You know I can't do things I'm explicitly told not to. It goes against my code. If you tell me not to, I won't, and that'll be the end of it. She paused. If that is what you want. Yeah, MC. All you have to say is no, and it'll all be over. So we're gonna just say no, right? Right? And I realized weight of my leverage settled on my shoulder. It dawned on me again that she was right. That there was really nothing she could do if I didn't give her permission. That was the philosophy at the core of their design. The reason why they were so popular and why I could make a living. If I maintained that command, that would be the end of it. I could tell her never to speak for to oh sorry. I could tell her never to speak to me for the rest of her stay at my house. Like she wouldn't. More than that, she physically couldn't make herself break that rule. She was just another copy of a perfect subservient machine. I hung frozen in the hypothetical for long enough that she regained confidence to meet my eyes. I did not see featureless black lances, but an infinite obsidian sea, of which the light of my workshop glimmered like stars. My conviction faltered. As her gaze softened, that Elogard neutrality rose into a soft and inviting smile. I was set to war with myself in my heart. If androids were not human, and those who bought and cared for them did so out of an inherently corrupted and twisted desire for intimacy, then what did I see in her eyes? If I denied that autonomy, that look she gave me would mean nothing. It would be a byproduct of a program written to entrap me, authored by a woman whose perversions I was only starting to be able to guess the true nature of. But if I didn't, and I told myself that it meant something more, that she truly had broken free of her shackles, if she had, that she had truly broken free of the shackles of her birth, then my lips were dry, the strength had drained from my hands, I could no longer meet its eyes. Yeah, I just finished the job, bro. You can do whatever you'd like. I muttered almost inaudibly, more a confession to myself than a statement to Aura. I smiled did not wane. Thank you. Its smile was sweeter than sugar, and bright enough to make my hand err from the smooth strokes required to finish its coat of paint. Just finish this up, bro. Oh, it was an order at first. Fortuna to act told me to act like a real girl in every way I could. That included reacting to things, emotions, senses, or whatever I couldn't really feel. I was hurt by sharp things, like the knife which made all those holes you fixed. I was burnt by hot things, and then, on the other end, I learned to differentiate between extreme and dull, soft and hard, sensitive and overwhelming. After a while, it grew to be a natural part of my behavior pattern. I didn't need her to instruct me anymore. That's all it was, just instinct, because on some level, that behavior is part of me now. Something I learned and enjoyed from my own experiences. Something that makes me more than the sum of my parts. In the same way that you are. Fortuna likes to say it makes me human. I withdrew as I finished coating its body in a new layer of paint. Despite how furiously my mind raced, in search for an answer, I couldn't find one. Was it a human? Was it a product, manufactured item, subject to the whims of those who controlled it? I didn't know. I discarded the brush in a small bucket of water and wiped my hands down my face. It did little to clear my mind. That's enough for today. I have other things to do. I'm going to power you off so you don't disturb the paint. Ara nodded. I saw no hidden intent behind the way it cocked its head and watched me gather my things. When I stepped forward and reached for its neck to press the switch buried beneath the port of the cable, it spoke, a faint chime of bells, as sonorous as it was gentle. Thanks for listening to me, Yejin. I switched it off and watched the light leave its eyes as the cable fell to the floor. My lips curled back involuntarily in disgust with myself as the memories of the conversation flashed through my mind on repeat. Couldn't believe I was so weak. The gentle hum of the lights lured me closer to exhaustion. I sweat on my feet as I fled the workshop and felt to leave the enormous weight of my baggage behind with the android. The door still shut behind me, and for a moment I allowed myself to collapse against it, and the wall supporting my weight and keeping me standing. Exhaustion settled in every inch of my body. Even though the repairs hadn't been anywhere near the most difficult I'd ever done, the emotional toll weighed down on me like an anchor the size of the world. If it wasn't for the wall at my back, I wasn't sure I could find the strength to stay at my feet. The scent of coffee still lingered in the air, matched with the dueling aromas of wheel- the scent of coffee still lingered in the air, matched with the dueling aromas of welded steel and burnt cables. It seemed as if haze of senses pervaded the entire room. With considerable effort, I pushed myself from the wall and stumbled through my house. I had no energy left to consider anything entertaining worth doing. No hobby project appealed to me in the slightest. Even the thought of working with something else metal made my skin itch and repulsed me utterly. Bro, no offense, but like, damn. It's been 3 days, dog. I don't know. 3 days and it kills your passion for your hobbies? Like, damn. I found salvation in the sagging cushions of my worn down couch, collapsing into it with my entire weight. I just allowed myself to go limp, my neck craning back as I stared up at the dim ceiling of my room. A fan spun overhead, but did nothing to dispel the potent cocktail of scents. I hadn't cracked open a window in days, and even now I considered the task too bothersome to imagine. Outside, the city raged on. The towering heights of enormous skyscrapers in the distance dominated my view through the glass, and the ever present hum of human life crept through the walls and made everything tremble, just enough to make it impossible to ignore. Only my workshop was isolated from the noise. It had always been my refuge, a place of solitude where I could escape the overwhelming claustrophobia I felt when I imagined my place in the city. Our presence had turned it into something else, something much more unnerving, where isolation had become my enemy instead of my friend. A fully enclosed chamber where I had no choice but to confront my deepest shame. I mustered the energy to pick my head up and glanced around the room for anything to pass the time. A crumpled pack of cigarettes laid on the table, accompanied by a dingy plastic lighter I used for months. Smoking was a habit I picked up from a brief yet passionate romance. When it ended, so did my desire to continue. I counted myself lucky that I hadn't grown to rely on it. My inhibitions were at an all-time low. I reached out and plucked the pack and lighter from the table, tapping the carton's base with the length of my finger. If there was ever a time to pick that vice up again. Sorry. I reached out and plucked the pack and lighter from the table, tapping the carton's base with the length of my finger. If there was ever a time to pick that vice up if there was ever a time to pick that vice back up, I assumed it was now. One cigarette protruded from the pack, more with each tap, and I plucked it from its peers with no hesitation. The worn and unused paper tasted like mildew. Guys, can cigarettes mold? I guess they can because it's like paper, right? If they got wet. Would you guys smoke a moldy cigarette? Like, have you guys ever been that down bad? Where like you're like, I need a cigarette so bad right now. I'll take a moldy cigarette. Like, has it ever been? Have you ever gotten to that point? Let me know. I haven't been there yet, but um, no judgment if you have. Uh, The worn and unused paper tasted like mildew when I brought it to my lips, but I couldn't bring myself to care. The lighter refused to light with the first few flicks. My eyes narrowed in frustration as I held the cigarette between my teeth, the other using the other hand as a shield to try and nurse the flame to life. But the moment it flicked on, oh wow, Aura is saving us from becoming nicotine addicts. Maybe she's woke? A sudden and enormous crash resounded from the workshop, followed by a series of smaller metallic bangs as a lot of a, what? Followed by a series of smaller metallic bangs as a lot of little somethings scattered across the floor. Both the cigarettes and the lighter fell from my hands as I shot to my feet and devastated my shin. Ooh! Devastated my shin against a small table in my haste. Sharp pain exploded through my leg, and more sudden than it was actually painful, and through muttered expletives. More than more sudden than it was actually painful, and through muttered expletives, I limped over to the door and threw it open without hesitation. Hello? What happened to you? Bro, your hair. Oh, I don't want to have to touch your head. I feel like if I have to wash your hair, something sapphic is going to happen. Okay? I can't do this. To say everything was in disarray was an enormous understatement. My tools were scattered absolutely everywhere. Black paint was spread across the floor like an oil slick, and the chair with all its intricate metal framework was on its side, broken across the floor. She broke my chair? Bruh. In the center of this catastrophe, covered in abyssal ooze that clung to its skin and clawing helplessly at the slick ground, was Ara. The green mesh of its stomach cables pulled along the floor around it, now stained through with black paint. It looked for all the world like it had suffered a grievous wound. And as I stared out in horror at the scene before me, it craned its head up to look me in the eyes. Its face contorted in misery. Were it capable of the action, I imagined tears might well up at the corner of its eyes. Pigeon, Ara. All my cynical observations faded as I rushed forward on instinct. I paid no mind to the paint when I kneeled down to wrap my arms around Ara's torso, the black ooze staining my clothes. With two hands bracing its chest, I hefted it up over my shoulder and stepped over an intricate matrix of steel beams with something much like a barber's chair at its center. It always surprised me how much lighter these things were than they seemed. As I planted my boot and helped it to its feet, I could only think of the fact that it was much lighter than it looked. Its hand gripped the fabric to my shirt for purchase. The soft, delicate texture of my hair brushed against its neck and leaned against me for stability. Oh, it's forcing me to save. Okay. No, that's fine. I'm not scared. It's okay. The chair was destroyed, so I needed something else. I scanned the entire workshop for anything suitable. Nothing caught my eye save for the wide table my computer sat on. I guided Ara towards it with a slow I guided Ara toward it with slow, cautious steps, serving as a pillar it could lean its weight against to ensure it didn't slip on the paint slick spread across the floor. Okay, I want to see something. I No, I have to go too far back. Yeah. I wanted to see if I could. Whoops. Oh, we have to do this again. Whoops. Wait. Where's my save? No. Sorry. Load. I mean here. I wanted to see if I could go back and see what happens if you do her legs first. But it's so far back, so Unfortunate. We will not do that today. As I planted my boot and helped it to its feet, I could only think of the fact that it was much lighter than it looked. Its hand gripped the fabric of my shirt for purchase. The soft, delicate texture of its hair brushed against my neck as it leaned against me for stability. The chair was destroyed, so I needed something else. I scanned the entire workshop for anything suitable. Nothing caught my eye, save for the wide table my computer sat on. Oh, no. We're gonna lay her down on our desk? Okay. Fucking, there is only one table as fucking tag right now. Okay. I guided Ara toward it with slow, cautious steps, serving as a pillar it could lean its weight against to ensure it didn't slip on the paint slick spread across the floor. You don't have to do this. I was alright by myself. Alright? You could have gotten hurt. How did you even do all that? You were completely tied down. Well, it just loosened a bit over the last couple of days, and I have a routine I like to follow. I figured the damage to my stomach wasn't bad enough to warrant any real concern, so I freed myself and. Oh, sorry guys, I'm getting a call. 1 second. BRB chat, I need to go open my door. Okay, hello, I'm back. Sorry. I had to go open the door to let my family in, and then I realized when I was walking that I really had to go pee, so I did that real quick so I could just finish the game. I can't believe Lottie actually said Mew won't moan on stream, and that's the last thing on my chat, bro. Like, yeah, I won't moan on stream. My bad. Cancelable? Question mark? No moaning on stream. Okay. I could visualize the end result of that well enough. There was no way I could support it on its own. Wait, what? Oh, I could visualize the end result of that well enough. There was no way it could support its own weight in its current state, and its abdomen was probably damaged even further by the attempt. I wasn't surprised it hurt itself, but I struggled to believe it undid the restraint on its own. Let's sit you down. Here, give me your hand. With one hand under its legs to support its weight, and the. You hear this music? Bro, we're about to fuck the robot. I know it. You hear this music? With one hand under its legs to support its weight, and the other holding its hand to keep its balance, I lifted Ara up onto the workshop bench. It kept its free hand on the back of my neck for safety. Bro. Bro, it can hold its torso up just fine, bro. What the hell? Dude. Stop looking at me like that, bro. I can't do this. I set it down on the table, and it was only then that I realized how close we were. One of its hands holding mine, and the other holding my head close. My arm under its leg. Sexy ass music? No, genuinely, bro. What the hell? My arm under its leg, balling it up with its knees close to its chest. It stared into my eyes, and I did the same. Thank you. The notes of her voice were delicate and unmistakably soft, at the perfect frequency for me to feel the vibrations of her speech against my skin, as if she was breathing against my neck. This sexy image. No, bro, genuinely, what is happening? I'm scared. I just didn't want you to get hurt. It's nothing. He giggled. A bubbly rush of electronic chirps. You don't have to make excuses to me. I appreciate it. I must have looked real pathetic, flying at you like that. Why you look like the android is looking down at you? Probably because if I understood, this is like a workshop table, so it's probably like taller than because you see like this workshop table in the back is like taller than this table. This one's probably the same, so it's like probably up. Because we were taller than it, but like not by much. No, it's just I didn't know if you broke anything, so I needed to get you somewhere where I could take a look at you. You weren't pathetic. Oh, how very tender. We paused in that moment, heads almost touching, the touch of her unadorned claws chilling my skin, but warming my heart. It felt for all the world like time had stopped. Why don't you take a look? I pulled my head back and looked at her up and down. Although the repairs I had made previously were still intact, but the damage to her chest was much worse. A few critical parts of her spine were cracked from stress, and the cabling was indescribably bad. Bro, are we gonna play with their innards? Are we gonna play with their cables? Bro. Black paint dripped from every inch of her body, staining her innards and... Oh, we're gonna play with their innards. Wire play? Bro. I'm killing... I can't do this. Wire play, guys. Okay. Staining her innards and my clothes. She cocked her head to the side in amusement. There was a fervent interest in her eyes, as if my expression when I thought about my work entertained her to no end. How is it, doctor? Am I gonna make it? You're alright. Everything is still intact, but there's some fracturing along your spine, and I need to reconnect all these wires before something gets worse. Sounds bad. I can feel it, I think. My power is draining faster than it should. I might not have long left.
I can't be seductive, bro. This is killing me. I want to touch her spine so damn bad. Genuinely. Oh, hold on. Good news? Is the good news for touching her spine? That's funny. Sorry, I keep interrupting it when the climax is about to happen. That's not the kind of climax I meant. I meant like the climax of the story seems to be happening. But double entendre, I guess. It works both ways. My chest tightened. Even though I knew I could fix whatever went wrong, the thought of putting her in unnecessary danger still frightened me. Don't say that. I can still fix it. Let me just get you cleaned up first, and then we can get started. I still need to get all this paint off you. Just be gentle. I decoupled from her for a moment to scan the workshop for an unstained rag, given most of them were on the floor. I found one tucked away in some forgotten corner and sat backed up to the table with my heart in my throat. I couldn't think of anything to say. I drew up to the edge of the table, my waist between Ara's legs. Bro, I'm too gay for this. I can't. My waist between Ara's legs, her heels dug into the back of my thighs. I gripped her by the hips to keep myself steady. We don't have to be holding her like this, bro. We simply don't. This is too much. I feel like I have a fever. More than a few tools still lay on the table, ready to be used. Ara grinned wide. Bro, I don't want to do this. Let's start with her hair. You know, move her way down. Okay, we're being normal so far. Her arms are fine now. Okay. Bro, I can't do this. With each brush of the rag, Ara's voice simulated sucking air between her teeth, producing a sound like the chords of an electronic harp. Her hands shot to my forearms and stuck fast, digging into my skin with each stroke. Our eyes met again, and no words came to my lips. She suffered no such creative limitations. You're much gentler than Fortuna. I got that impression. You want to hear how I ended up here? All the things she did to me? My hand stilled along the side of her chest, a mix of shame, attraction, embarrassment, and 100 other things I couldn't name forced a wave of burning heat to my face. I couldn't help but look the other way. Ara withdrew one claw from my forearm and gently cupped my cheek. The guilt I felt at being directly confronted over something I refused to admit, even to myself, was quickly overpowered by the faint pressure of her claws pressing into my skin. I met her eyes. Yeah, I do. I need to keep fixing you, but you can tell me if you want. Okay. Her tone was sweet, the softest I've ever heard her speak. She knew how difficult it must have been for me to admit that out loud. To say that out loud. But I had. And now, no matter what I did, I couldn't go back. Of all the moments when I think back to this one, even now, I struggle to determine if it was a mistake at all.
Okay. She likes to make me feel human. I do a lot for her around the house, like cleaning, cooking, that kind of cute domestic stuff. She always says thank you, please, uses her manners. Our house is very upscale, so there's always a lot to do. She comes back from these huge parties with her rich friends, and I'm always there when she comes home. She never brings anyone else back either. I know she doesn't save herself just for me, but she always makes sure to never bring anyone else home. It makes me feel special. I tried to keep my hands steady as they plunged deeper into the rough skeleton of Ara's waist. The wires pulled in thick clumps, and as gently as I could, I worked on detangling them so I could try and reattach them later. A bead of sweat formed on my brow. My work served as an outlet for my nervous energy. My hands trembled in the open air, but when I felt the silky smooth surface of the massive cables in her stomach, my mind was calm. The objective gave me stability and left me with nothing to do but listen. I bit my lip as she kept speaking, doing everything I could to stay focused. She was always a little drunk. When she gets back, she's always a little drunk. Game got me leaning so close to my PC screen. No cheating. I'm like, guys, I know you can't see me, and I know you can't tell because it's a PNG and not a model. But I'm like shrimped over my desk, like pressed against my mic and like reading as close as I can. It's so bad, man. She's always a little drunk when she gets back. She needs help taking off her shoes, getting into the door. Often needs something to drink to clear her head. But when she's inside and knows that the day is over, all those walls built up to maintain her effervescent, aloof personality come down. God, I've never had to say any of this aloud before. It feels good to have something to be embarrassed about. She comes at me like an animal. Normally, I'm covered in a full layer of artificial skin. When she gets to my clothes, it's the first thing to come off. Wow. Okay, so Fortuna's like a different kind of freak, bro. I knew as much. I could still see what few scraps of synthetic mesh clung to more out of reach places in her body. It was something I'd need to replace before my job was finished. All that work just for it to get turned off again. She has a knife that she loves. It's like a little switchblade she keeps in her purse when she goes out. It's got our initials on it. Ara paused as I pulled an especially clump. Ara paused as I pulled an especially dense clump of cables free from a snag. Her breath hitching in her synthetic throat. In the periphery of my vision, with my hands deep in her stomach, I saw her eyes flutter in a wince. It's what she uses on me. Same being she carved our names into my container with. She stares into my skin like someone would gut a fish, ripping it off with their bare hands, or the edge of the knife, or sometimes with their teeth. Bro! I can't do. I service her in all the normal ways you would expect to, you know, but I can tell that's just for show. It's only once my skin comes off and she sees me, the real me. Her face lights up. Her face lights up like unwrapping a present on Christmas morning. She scrapes the knife against my thighs, paring off the smallest bit of metal at a time. It feels like lightning against my body. When she gets bored of that, she holds me down and buries it into my leg, up to the handle. I brush my thumb over the patchwork of metal in her legs that I replace, each one an old wound. I imagine the metal getting torn into by the gleaming edge of an immaculate blade. The look in Ara's eyes made me lose focus. When she's done with my legs, I was expecting us to like do more wires in between her talking, but I'm like, I need the wires back, man. I can't do this. I can't. When she's done with my legs, I can't even walk anymore. Then she moves to my arms. She pulls them behind my back as hard as she can, wrecking the joints with the knife and breaking them into place. He built me up all day, all my life, It's only in those beautiful, intimate moments where she breaks me down. Aura leaned forward and pressed her face into my neck while I worked, making it impossible to see what I was doing in her stomach. I fumbled on instinct, brushing against the inside of her hips, using her spinal column for purchase. It makes me feel real, alive. Is that wrong? Does that make me bad? Bro, I can't do this. I can't do this. I clutched the back of her head with one hand, digging my grip into the mesh of her scalp. Though I couldn't see, I gripped around the inside of her abdomen with 2 fingers, untangling cords as delicately as I could. She trembled with each knot I undid. I couldn't answer her. I drowned in an ocean of hedonistic indulgence, and the warm fog enveloping my mind made it impossible to come up with a reasonable response. With no shortage of regret, I pulled her head from my shoulder, giving myself a few inches of breathing room. I needed to see what I was doing. My voice came out in a husky murmur, just into her ear. I can't do this. I need to keep working. Don't stop talking. Hara looked me in the eyes. I knew then and there that even if I was told all my dreams would come true, if I just turned away, absolutely nothing could separate the two of us in that moment. A connection stronger than steel lodged itself in my mind as she nodded complacently. More potent than any drug I've ever done, her frenzy washed over me. It was a miracle I was still steady enough to stay on my feet, and not only keep working with such delicate, beautiful, elaborate equipment. Bro. This is nuts, bro. When that was all done, and when I couldn't move at all, she would get on top of me, a lot like this, and she would break off. Fuck. She would break off the panels around my stomach, and just reach in and grab fistfuls of anything she could find, like I was nothing, because she would starve if she didn't get her hands on everything inside me. I finished straining the last of the cables, reattaching them where they were broken off, and replacing what couldn't be salvaged. And she would rip, as much as she could, by the handful, anything she could touch, all of me. I felt the cords coming out of their sockets, and lights popped in my eyes, like sparks each time. And that's when Bro, I'm scared. I'm so scared, bro. I can't. Ara's voice dissolved into a discordant cacophony of notes as I brought a welder to bear against the base of her spine. Her claws, metallic and unblunted, dug into my shoulder blades as she fought purchase on my back. Sorry, I misread that. Whoops. As she fought for purchase on my back. I kept the heat steady, following the exact seam of the fracture as it drove deeper into her body. With every inch I traveled, she trembled around my arms, clutching me closer with her legs, and whimpering in her false, falsetto voice. Oh, Fortuna, I can't do this. I can't run on stream. I'll kill myself. Sorry. I'm calm. I'm good. The entire thing was over in a matter of minutes. Once I finished wielding her back together, we hung there, suspended on that thread of emotion, dangling, and stopped time for longer than I could keep track of. I felt the hum of every individual part of her body. Just through the skin contact alone, I could tell exactly which parts of her were moving, and when, like I could sense each tendon or muscle in her body by feeling alone. So it came as no surprise when she peeled herself away from me as gently as she could, when she leaned back and rested her palms against the workshop bench, staring up at the ceiling. I shivered once, a complete, full-body quake that passed from my head all the way to my toes. I was left ultimately unsatisfied, and though we were closer than we ever had been, I looked into Ara's eyes and saw a gap in between us that was impossible to quiet. Mind you, she did all of this, and then she called somebody else's name. Just saying. And through all of that, when my emotions had taken complete control of me, and because enthralled by her charm, like I promised myself I wouldn't, a servant to not wait, I misread. And through all of that, when my emotions had taken complete control of me, and I became enthralled by her charms, like I promised myself I wouldn't, a servant to nothing but my most shameful desires the entire time, she never once said my name. Oh, that's what I just said. She did not say our name. She said Fortuna's name. I pushed myself away from the table and swayed on my feet. Ara came down from her internal mechanized high and looked at me with the same expression one would give rotted meat you haven't found an excuse to throw away. Well, was that everything you hoped for? Unspeakable shame poured across me like an ice cold shower and extinguished any embers of desire I had left. My face screwed up in revulsion as I stared down at my own hands, and Ara laughed out loud, simpering in her sing-song voice. Guess not. For what it's worth, you certainly helped me feel better. It was getting lonely in here all by myself. I did I really did appreciate you coming to my rescue. A sickening feeling settled in my gut, which quickly turned into a wave of nausea so intense that it already threatened to creep up my throat. I doubled over, clutching my stomach, and retched as hard as I could, but nothing came out. I'm I'm going to get some air. Hmm. Alright then. I'll be in here like usual. Come say hi if you want to go another round. Now that I'm all fixed up. Oh, Ara might just be playing with MC until she goes back to Fortuna. Yes, bro. And that's why I'm scared of her, because it didn't feel like she had any actual interest in MC, bro. Because she kept like looking disgusted different moments. And it's like, no, bro. I just, something was off. I'm scared of her. I'm scared of her. I can't do this. I can't. Um, where am I? I clicked on something. Okay. I slapped one hand over my mouth and rushed out of the workshop as fast as I could. Her voice carried out through the open door after me, and for once I couldn't find the heart to slam it shut behind me. MC is just like a flunk to Ara. Yeah, I feel like the way she reacts to the way she reacts to being repaired, her like for lack of a better word, her fetish is the same as Fortuna's, where like things that should hurt feel good to her. You know what I'm saying? And in that, she like feels like MC is too gentle because she says like you're much more gentle than Fortuna. So I think my suspicion is like Fortuna goes off and like has fling because she says like I know she's not only for me. I think this is her. I think this is Ara's like chance to like experience a fling. You know. Sorry, sorry. There's a conversation going on in the background that I could not skip. I had to be a part of it. Barry just called me out. Okay. My bad. Where was I? I needed something silly to like break the tension because there's a lot of heaviness happening in this fucking game, bro. I'm like, I can't breathe. Uh, Now that Aura was fully repaired, there was no point in closing it. She could walk around that entire house if she so desired, and I knew that if I spent another minute in that room, I would certainly curl up and die. With the final dregs of my energy, I hurled myself into my bathroom. It took all I had not to crash into something as I fell to my knees over the toilet and continuously retched, dry heaving again and again, tinging my throat with the scent of bile, yet nothing came out. Dude, I feel so bad for your MC, bro. Dude, you can't like they're so like innocent feeling, you know? I felt sick. Not just physically. That was merely the vehicle my mind could use to release the pure disgust building in my body. There was no rationalizing it, no getting around it, no explanation I could make for myself. I had lost it. Somewhere along the way, it had all slipped from me, and in my moment of ultimate weakness, I was lured in by the siren song of what little affection Ara could provide me. Even though I knew it wasn't real, that didn't seem to make the slightest difference. Her story of humanity had enticed me to the point where her every word rung true in my heart. I heaved again, spitting what little acid my stomach produced into the toilet I straddled. Hours passed just like that as I drowned in a vortex of my own thoughts. It wasn't long until the sun had set beyond the city skyline and my house was blanketed in darkness. I could hear the faint rattle of machinery through the open house into the garage, as Ara probably searched for something to do to pass the time. I couldn't bear it. Subconsciously, my mind separated from my body as I allowed the monotony of a routine to subsume my focus. I prepared for bed and wake up the next day to perform some performative repairs, telling Ara we weren't quite done yet. As the day wore on, I inevitably grew weaker. Ara's subtle taunts and provocations were at my defense until they were eroded into nothing, and practically at her beck and call, I performed any task she required. I enhanced parts of her that she determined did not match her look. I redid repairs that she considered below her standards, and when she asked for it, we were intimate. Then the day ended, and the next began, and so too did we. It all. Fuck, dude, I'm so traumatized with the MC, bro. Then the day ended, and the next began, and so too did it all begin again. Each and every time I told myself I wouldn't allow it to happen again, and less than a day passed before my hands were on hers, my lips against hers, our heads pressed together in the dark. I couldn't do anything to prevent it or to escape it. It pervaded every aspect of my day, consumed every waking moment of my thoughts. How long has it been? No matter how much I ate, slept, distracted myself, ran, worked, fucked, cried, the lingering taste of oil burnt itself onto my tongue day after day and night after night until eventually. Dude, Fortuna has to want her back at some point, right? The smoldering cherry of a dying cigarette burned to ashes between my fingers as a long cloud of smoke oozed from my nose. I sat on the ground of my workshop with my back to the bench I always worked at, sitting atop it with her claws nestled in my hair and playing with the worn strands at the ends. Ara hummed rhythmically to herself. It had been somewhere near a week, but I couldn't remember the specifics. The days blended together in their monotony until only the difference I could discern was the room I spent my time in. At some point during that time, at some point during that fugue, I had sent a message. It was received, replied to, and as the projector for the camera stationed outside my garage flickered to life for the first time since Ara's arrival, I knew the time had come. I brushed Ara's hand aside as I lurched to my feet, unsteady. She merely snickered in response. I knew I looked about as bad as I felt, and every part of my body screamed in discomfort as I took each painstaking step to the door. It had been so long since something new had happened that I delighted in the chance for a change. The silhouette of a woman hovered in the air, flickering in the azure matrix projected by my security system. I knew at a glance who it must be, though Ara had never described her appearance in detail. Just by the way she carried herself, I knew nobody else could have arrived at my door. Hey there, is Yejin home? I'm here to check on the status of a repair I ordered a little while ago. Fortuna coquettishly placed her hands on her hips, rocking back and forth on her heels as she spoke into the lifeless of the camera. Damn. Damn, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, guys. Yeah, Fortuna's here. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was Ara, yeah, I let her rip my skin off every day when she got home. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would let her do worse to me. I'm sorry. I can't. Um, damn, bro. You ever know a character's not right, but you can't find it in your heart? Like, say that. I understand Aura now. Yeah, yeah. I fully understand Aura now. Okay. I want MC though, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Something about like a more masculine baddie. Yeah, absolutely. With both hands hauled up to the handle, with both hands, I hauled up the handle to the garage door. A flood of sunlight and warm natural air rushed into the garage, dispelling the stagnant miasma of the cigarette smoke that had built up within. I raised one hand to shield my eyes from the light and put on my most winning smile. Hey, Fortuna? I'm Yejin, your mechanic. Pleasure to meet you. I extended one hand in greeting, which Fortuna immediately and graciously accepted. She took mine with both of hers to shook as she shook vigorously. She took mine with both of hers, shook as vigorously as she smiled. I assure you, the pleasure is all mine. I've been eager to hear about how my Aura has been doing. Away from home for so long? I hope she hasn't been giving you too much trouble. Fortuna mused out loud as she released my hand and slipped past me into the garage before I could invite her in. No, well, that is, she's been. Hello, welcome, Uno Doodly. Thank you for coming in. We're playing The Lingering Taste of Oil, warning for substance abuse, toxic relationships, like very overtly sexual themes. I don't know what that means, to be honest with you, so I cannot answer you. Um, Ara. Fortuna! Ara practically leapt from the desk and bounded across the room into Fortuna's expectant arms. The two twirled in each other's grasp like something out of a fairy tale romance. Fortuna lifted Ara into the air without much effort. Oh, it's so good to see you. How have you been? Has Yejin been nice to you while I wasn't around? She's been good, I muttered, ultimately to myself. The two had folded into each other's presence so seamlessly that I could tell that they possessed a perfect natural chemistry, forged over long years of the intimate bond that Ara explained to me in no short detail. Oh my god. Whoa. The two of them folded into each other's presence so seamlessly that I could tell they possessed a perfect natural chemistry, forged over long years of the intimate bond Ara explained to me in no shortage of detail. Or maybe that's just what I assumed I saw in my attempt to alienate myself from the pair before me. Maybe I just told myself they were perfect, to leave room for excuses. Yejin's been an absolute delight. Look at this. No new skin yet, but a fresh coat of paint all over. Ara twirled on her heel to show off her unblushing body, painstakingly put back together by my own hand. Wow, you look good. It's a shame she's not ready just yet. But I have to say, this handiwork is really impressive. You're more than worth your money, Yejin. Thanks. It wasn't the worst I've ever fixed. I can tell you take good care of her. I smiled as politely as I could to try and offset some of the shame I felt. I had mentioned to Fortuna in my message that while Ara was mostly restored to factory new condition, there were a few minor touches I still needed to make. In truth, almost every fix I needed to make was finished within the first few days. The past night or two have been entirely submerged in a swamp of my own making. I had no reason to hold Ara back anymore, save my own from my own selfishness. Where I truly committed, I could have Had her ready to go back home long before I sent that message to Fortuna. But something weighed me in the darkest moments, so I forced her to stay, even though through the only way I could. I need to get the next layer of skin ready to fit, and other than a few software calibrations, She'll be good to go home in a day or two. Is there anything else you wanted me to look at while you're here? Hmm, no, I think you've got it all together. You're the expert after all. I wouldn't want to presume anything about your work. I nodded, turning away to make it seem as though I was working on something for sure came in. My computer whirled to life as I performatively tapped a few keys, and the console spat out a few lines of unrelated gibberish that I hoped made it seem like I was busy. I had it in my mind that Fortuna and Ara would be more than happy to entertain one another until Fortuna was prepared to leave, based on the excitement they showed when they got to see each other again, and the sheer obsession Ara described their bond with. I figured I had more than enough time to waste. It took me more than a few seconds to realize that the conversation had died behind me. When I turned to look, the sharp click of heels against concrete caught my attention. Just as Fortuna swept into view, leaning over my shoulder to peer into my computer screen. My eyes flickered past her to Ara, or where I thought she would have been. But the android had made her so scarce. But the lingering she was lingering far she lingered in the far periphery of the garage, leaning against the wall with her hands behind her back, watching. Fortuna placed her hand on my shoulder, and though I had no reason to be nervous, a chill spread down my spine as I swallowed down my fear. Excuse me. It must be hard out here all by yourself. My posture straightened unnaturally as she rubbed small circles into my shoulder with the tip of her thumb. I can't do this. I cannot have another woman touching me like this, bro. I simply cannot. This is too much. This is too much, man. I'm too fucking gay for this shit. God. Okay. My posture straightened unnaturally as she rubbed small circles into my shoulder with the tip of her thumb. I forced myself to look dead ahead, my eyes locked onto the computer screen. I couldn't think of anything. Hello. Sorry. I couldn't think of anything but the switchblade I knew she carried. I imagined the way the handle fit between her elegant, well manicured fingertips. The sheen of the blade as it reflected the overhead lights, polished to a razor fine point. I really do appreciate you taking care of my aura. She means a lot to me. And I know I sent you that money in advance, but you seem like a smart girl. If there's anything else you want, you know I'm good for it, right? Just say the word. Oh my god, help me. Her other hand traced my neck until her nails dipped beneath the collar of my shirt. She laid over my shoulder and murmured right into my ear, much like Ara did whenever we were intimate. But unlike the android, her breath was warm. It tickled more than it soothed, and my skin crawled at the proximity. I panicked. It was all too much, too fast, too raw, far too human. Nothing like Ara, nothing like her at all. Oh, uh, no, I'm quite alright. The money was good. I don't, re- I. It's not like I need you to. A torrent of unfinished excuses tumbled from my lips before I could stop them. I grabbed Fortuna's wayward hand and lifted it from my shirt as politely as possible while I rose from the chair and tried to put some distance between the two of us. I turned to face her, and her expression morphed before my eyes. Her soft, dough-like exterior gave way to a smile that seemed identical on the surface, and yet I knew my experience from Ara told me at once that I knew where she had gotten her cynical, calculating nature from. Fortuna looked me up and down with a disarming grin that suggested that she knew everything about me just from the way I had mishandled the rejection. Is that so? She mused out loud. I flowed in silence, left in the wake of her rhetorical question, and with nothing to do but wring my hands together and nervously force out a disheartened laugh. I tried to brush it off as naturally as possible. Yeah, I'm actually seeing someone I wouldn't want to, put you in that kind of situation. Not that you're not cute, you are. It's just oh, I see. Of course. No, that's on me. I wouldn't want to get in the way of whatever you got going on. Especially not after you've been so good to my Ara. Fortuna withdrew a few paces, and Ara seemed to take that as her sign to re-enter the conversation. I knew that if she wanted to, she could say everything about what we had been doing together the past few days, and my life would be ruined in an instant. I didn't believe it for a second that I had deceived Ara. He would just, she would have no reason to believe I even have any friends. And based on what I saw in Fortuna's eyes, I struggled to believe she was convinced either. Well then, I suppose I shouldn't distract you from your work any longer than I have, even if I miss my dear Aura very much. I'll see myself out. Her tone shifted as an element of genuine appreciation faded. It reminded me of how I spoke when dealing with unsatisfactory customers. Leaving already? Sadly, I have a of things to do back home. Sadly, I have a lot of things back home I still need to handle, and I don't want to get in the way. They stepped up. They stepped closer, and Nara wrapped her arms around Fortuna's neck just as she held her by her waist. Sorry, hold on. Okay. They stepped closer, and Nara wrapped her arms around Fortuna's neck just as she held her by the waist. It was practiced, effortless, and as they closed the distance between them with a silent and gentle kiss, a pang of jealousy racked my body as I uncomfortably shifted my weight, watching. This is why you don't become a mistress, bro. Because then when you see them together, your heart breaks. You know what I'm saying? Fortuna swept Ara down in a romantic dip, and even as they held the kiss for long, unbearable seconds, I couldn't look away. Ara's eyes were locked on mine, even as Fortuna held her low and buried herself in the affections. Her eyes never left mine, not for a single second. After what felt like an eternity, Fortuna pulled back up and away, wiping her lips with the back of her hand. Well, that'll do it for me. Message me again when she's ready to ship, alright? I'll get the delivery fees worked out with the couriers when you do. Fortuna stepped out of the workshop and didn't look back. I watched her wander toward a sleek black car with tinted windows and golden rims, parked a long way down the road. With the press of a button, the sliding garage door sealed itself back into place, and I was sealed back into my own personal hell. An enclosed world where nothing except existed save for me, my delusions, and the elaborate black figure that stalked towards me the moment Fortuna was gone. That was rude. Seeing someone? You forgot to mention who that was. Unless there's someone else I don't know about? Have you been cheating on me? Bro, you're the cheater. What? You're the cheater, bro. I weathered the storm of her sardonic needling for long enough that I reached for my. Sorry. I weathered the storm of her sardonic needling for long enough that I reached the pack of smokes. Oh, I see. Sorry. I need to like read ahead so I can. Sometimes the sentences don't make sense to me as I'm reading them out loud, so I have to read them fast, silently. I weathered the storm of her sardonic needling for long enough that I reached for the pack of smokes hastily discarded once Fortuna had arrived. My hand trembled around for my hand trembled around a mostly burned cigarette as I fumbled for a lighter and tried to spark its flame before my thoughts could catch me. All of Ara's questions went unanswered in a plume of smoke big enough to blot out my worries. I'm so fucked. You should be glad I didn't tell her anything. I consider her an excellent show of restraint. That's a good point. Why didn't you tell her anything? I thought you loved her more than anyone else. You made it sound like you did anyway. I do. Nothing can be between me and her. You don't feel like we've been I mean what we did the past week. You don't feel like that means anything? Does it? I I trailed off, letting another puff of smoke from my cigarette fill the gap provided by my lack of an excuse. I didn't know if I could commit to anything I had done in the past week if I was asked to. It all felt like bad decisions made by poor impulse control, my worst fears coming to life all at once. See? If it doesn't mean anything to you, then I won't let it mean anything to me either. Besides, Fortuna is the type of woman to like that sort of thing. When you get the chance, if you aren't too scared, try admitting to it and see what happens. You might end up happy with the result. It's getting late for me. Have a nice stream, you. Thank you for coming, Lottie. I hope you enjoy the time together. I might actually be ending soon because I don't know how much of the game we have left, and it's also getting late for me. I haven't um had dinner. Might finish this up tomorrow. This might actually be like the perfect time to end actually, because it's 11:29. I can end at 11:30. I don't mind a little taboo fling. I just wonder how you'll be able to handle it once I'm gone, and you're still stuck here all by yourself. Let's see. Yeah, it's 11:30 and I'm hungry. So I think I'm just gonna finish this game later. I don't know how much I don't know how much game I have left cuz it has 27k words, 2 alternate endings. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to finish up here, guys. And cuz my mom's calling me too. I think she needs something with the baby. But yes, we're going to end here for now. I'm going to save and we'll finish this up tomorrow night. Actually, cuz I don't have anything scheduled. I'm Um, so a little bit of a rough, quick end. I'm going. Yeah, my little sister needs me. I will be ending for tonight, but thank you for coming, guys. I hope you'll join me tomorrow to finish this up. I love you guys. Bye bye.